do it. All right. Hello, Fantasy Hooligans. Did you have a good week 1? Did you score 249 points like Scott did? Or did you have a bad week 1 and lose like me? Started LaShawn McCoy and Derrick Henry. Both get your combined like 6 points? I feel you.
Digits.
I know. Well, maybe we can make week 2 a little bit better because this is Pigskin Dynasty, your podcast for all things fantasy football with the Sprinkle Sports Talk. I'm your host, broadcasting from coast to coast, Matt Phillips. Alongside me is the fantasy leprechaun, Scott Orland. How you doing, Scott?
Doing good, Matt. Doing
good. Week 1's fine in the books.
1-0, 3-0 across my 3 leagues there.
Yeah, 2-1, but the one I care about, it sucks. Didn't do good in daily this year. I put 5 in, only won $1.50. So, I mean, I got $9 in today. I'm pretty confident in my lineup, so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the rankings. But overall, how was week 1 to you?
Week 1 is brilliant. I had my all-time high score, 249 points in our home league together.
That was insane.
So that was great. I wish I was playing Corey that week, or you, or Josh, the fantasy ogre.
If I would have played you, I would probably score like 220 then. That's usually how it works.
Right, second highest score every time you play me.
Yep, it usually happens all the time. But yeah, week 1 was crazy. Let's talk about, first of all, like Ryan Fitzpatrick and that Saints game. Isn't that insane? Michael Thomas gets like 16 catches. Alvin Kamara gets like 10 catches. He's like a receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown.
Single-digit rushing yards.
But whatever, it doesn't matter. That was insane. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that was going to happen?
Not you. Sit Mike Evans.
I mean, I had facts, I had stats that said he didn't, but obviously...
Yeah, I thought it'd be a shootout in the other direction.
Honestly, I think the gist of this season for us is going to be just do the exact opposite of what I say. I think my players that I said is going to go off usually. That's what's usually going to happen. But I was right on 50% of them. I was right on 50% of my projections. If I can get that, I'm pretty happy. But that Saints game was pretty...
Whoa. We're burying the lead here, guys. The fancy leprechaun hit on his pot of gold, glory play of the week. Bruce Ellington.
You did.
Scored a touchdown. 14 PPR fantasy points.
I was kind of going to wait until we get to that segment, but
no,
whatever.
I got to brag about this right now.
Okay, whatever.
That was the most exciting point for me in week 1. Like all the winning, yeah. But the second I hit on my pot of gold player of the week, bam!
New segment that we're going to do every week, so I'm interested to see what Scott says this week.
There's a good one locked up for this one.
Tune in for that, but let's talk about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Obviously, he went off. If he continues playing like this, there's rumors throughout the sports world that Jameis Winston might not even have a job anymore. So my first question for you is, do you think he's going to continue that play, or do you think he's going to be...
Do I think he's going to throw 400 yards and 4 touchdowns?
Obviously not that.
No.
You think he's going to do like same old Fitzpatrick, where 1 week he goes off, the other week he goes back to same old Fitzpatrick?
He's established what he is at this point, so yeah, I truly expect that 100%. This week, probably less than 200 yards and multiple interceptions.
Multiple interceptions.
Yeah.
Okay. And
after that big week, I didn't even rank him top 20. So
neither do I. I think he's dropped really low in my rankings.
I just think it's a poor matchup for him, and Fitzpatrick has shown in the past inconsistency where he has the highs like this, but he also has really low lows. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if he turns in a poor game in week 2 against Philadelphia Eagles defense.
Mm-hmm. Other big kind of fantasy explosion was Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs offense was just looking really good. I did not expect that from Patrick Mahomes on his first real NFL
I have an interesting stat with the receivers coming a little bit later on.
All right, cool.
Just keep an ear out for that, guys.
We want to turn on the live feed? Patrick Mahomes did 4 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had like 2 touchdowns. That whole offense looked great. Sammy Watkins didn't do good. His boy, but
we'll address that later.
Then the other big news on Monday night: Detroit Lions looked like complete trash. Sam Darnold, my fellow USC, did pretty good. He had, besides that first throw being a first pick 6, he came back around and did a great turnaround.
He destroyed the Lions' entire 2018 season in 1 game.
Coming from
they're already talking about letting go of Matt Patricia.
Really?
Yeah,
wow,
they're
ruthless. They're ruthless. But
what'd you do? Bump the camera?
What do you mean I bumped the camera? I didn't bump the camera. Anyways, I need to move it.
Yeah, keep going.
All right.
Take care of it.
So that's it for week 1, guys. So we're going to go into our start rankings for week number 2. My rankings can be found on Big Cat Country. If you want a full article, go check that out. I'll do a tag on our page. But I'm going to do a quick synopsis of our rankings. I'm not going to go read the full article to you guys. So I'm going to start with the quarterback. Now, my rankings, obviously in redraft leagues and dynasty leagues, you might not start some of these guys, but I'm really loving a lot of these guys in daily, which is basically what my articles are based upon, is daily. But a lot of these players are good streaming options too if you needed like say you got an injured Doug Baldwin, or you don't like your quarterback, so etc. So just follow these rankings, use what you think is your best for you. But as I said, mine's mainly towards DraftKings, FanDuels, etc. So my first quarterback start, he's my streaming quarterback choice of the week, will be Tyrod Taylor. Okay, the Saints just got tore up by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now I'm not expecting 400-yard performance by Tyrod, but in sloppy conditions, he posted 24 points last week. Albeit he had 77 yards rushing, that helps a lot. But I expect Tyrod to be down a lot. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I expect Jarvis Landry to have a huge game. I'm projecting 252 yards passing, about 50 to 52 yards rushing, 3 total touchdowns and 1 interception. In DraftKings, he's very cheap. All systems go. I'm all in on Tyrod Taylor this week. Scott, what do you think?
Tyrod Taylor, absolutely, against New Orleans Saints. I expect him to be trailing. Conversely, Jarvis Landry, too. Get him in your lineups.
Yep.
Going into, we're doing start?
Yeah, doing starts, yeah.
So my first start, I'm going to go with Big Ben here. Last week I had him ranked 11th. This week I'm having him 2nd. Mostly because the Chiefs' defense, I think, is pretty poor. This is the highest over-under game, in the
I think it's like combined 45, something like that.
51.
51?
Or
Okay.
52. It was 52 last time I checked. So, plus you have home Big Ben against the poor Chiefs defense. I'm expecting 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. Big game for Big Ben this week at home.
I agree. He's actually my start number 3 for quarterbacks. Just a little add-on to what Scott's saying. He always plays better at home. This can easily be one of Big Ben's 5-6 touchdown performances he's done in the past. I'm actually going really bold on my projection. I'm going 385 yards and 4 touchdowns for Big Ben. I think he's a QB1 this week. Starting in one of my leagues. In daily, he's a little bit expensive, as the elite quarterbacks are. So, I wouldn't particularly try to spend on a quarterback. My motto is to do a little bit cheaper on the quarterback and then go stud up on my running backs and receivers. But I think he's going to get a lot of points. So, my quarterback number 2 will be Jimmy G. Like Ben Roethlisberger, he's much better at home. So his last 2 home games, which was the Jaguars and Titans, he had 22 points per game average. Much better than he is on home. Marquise Gordon is out, so I don't think that's going to affect him as much. I think that offensive talent around him is really good. I expect a lot of George Kittle, a lot of Pierre Gasol, and a lot of Dante Pettis. I think he puts up good fantasy numbers this week. So 313 yards and 3 total touchdowns with about 32 rushing yards. And he is going up against Detroit Lions, who just got carved up by a rookie. So I think he's a great matchup, really enticing matchup.
Yep, Jimmy G was my 3rd start, so I was with you in on Jimmy G on that one. Great matchup with the Lions defense. I agree with your sentiment about 300 yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns, and he'll add a little bit of rushing in there for you too.
When you saw that one throw we did, that touchdown, you broke her out, did that little spin. I'm like, oh, that was beautiful, and that throw was beautiful.
Yeah, and the one hesitancy I would have with Jimmy G is Matt Patricia coached the defense against him. I imagine Jimmy G ran scout team for the number 1 defense there in New England. So maybe Matt Patricia knows a little bit about Jimmy G. We'll find out in the game. But with the way that Lions team is looking, it looks like they don't even want their coach there. They're trying to turn on their
That's surprising.
turning
1
on
week.
their team. Yeah, week 1.
1 week.
First game of his coaching career, and it seems like he's already lost a lot.
He's never had to head coach a team
insane.
before. Detroit's is ruthless.
So I'm expecting a massive game from Jimmy G this week as well. And then my final start, I'll just tie into it as Phillip Rivers. I got him as my quarterback 4 this week. If we go back to last year, what happened against Buffalo, that was
Joe Falco
5
look like a
interceptions.
stud.
Yeah, it was insane.
Which I was right on, by the way.
Yeah, so Phillip Rivers, big week this week. Chargers as a whole, defense, offense, big week.
I read this fun, interesting stat, so I'm going to give it to you and let me know if you know it. So in the games last year that the Chargers play, that they won by 17 plus points. Okay, what was the average for Melvin Gordon? What was the average for Keenan Allen? So Melvin Gordon, when they won by 17 plus, average fantasy points were about 11 points for Melvin Gordon. For Keenan Allen, it was 26. It's kind of interesting when they win a lot. Keenan Allen really goes off. When it's kind of like really tight, it's Melvin Gordon's kind of the biggest beneficiary. It's kind of interesting because usually
they're passing to Melvin Gordon when they're behind. Or
but
close.
it's usually a little bit like kind of backwards.
Right.
You know, usually like when they're up by 17, usually the running back gets a lot more. That's a kind of interesting fact. Obviously, I'm not trying to say Melvin's going to have a bad game this week. I think Melvin's going to be he's like one of my top 5 running backs, but just a fun little interesting fact that I read. So going into our running backs.
You got your third start?
I did Big Ben. I kind of tied in. I did Jimmy G and Tyrod. So,
that's right, Big Ben. We got them all. Okay, we're good. Running back starts.
Running back starts. So I am all in this week in one of my leagues. Kind of have to start him, but in daily, he's about $5,000. He's very cheap, and I think he has a very great chance to get a lot of fantasy points this week. I'm all in on Dion Lewis. He had 21 touches and completely outperformed Henry. He played about
triple the score.
He played about 78% of the snaps to Henry's 21, and it wasn't like the game was a blowout where they had to throw the ball. It was really tight and contesting matchup all week. I think he's just the 3-down back that they do want. I made the due diligence of trying to trade for Dion Lewis when I had Derrick Henry, just so I had that kind of like handcuff there. I'm all in on him. I think he's the only Titan you can comfortably start over Mariota, even over Corey Davis. I have him 84 total yards with a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another touchdown because I think this game and pass, they always get really tight. It's usually 21-24
right.
in some game, but 84 touchdowns.
You know, I would take that with a grain of salt because that game was played over like 7 or 8 hours. It got delayed so many times, the start and stop. So maybe Dion Lewis was taking it better than Derrick Henry, who is, massive.
That's true.
Man.
That's true. But
and in South Florida, the humidity, the heat factor, and if you live in Florida, when it rains, it gets real humid right after.
I agree, but also Derrick Henry played in Alabama. He's used to the humidity. I mean, so I'm just kind of I don't know. At this point, I kind of want to see what they do with Derrick Henry, but as I said, I'm more comfortable with Dion Lewis as the fact that he catches the ball a little bit more. And
his
then
floor is higher.
You also got to point out that apparently they might be switching quarterbacks halfway through the game. So does that benefit Derrick Henry? I think that's going to benefit Dion Lewis a little bit more because he's a pass catcher, and if they do switch on quarterbacks, they might get blown out, so they might have to throw the ball a little bit more. Honestly, the whole running back situation, the Titans fantasy situation, is kind of like flip a coin and hopefully. But as of right now, I'm banking on Dion Lewis to have a good game. I need him to have a good game. Please have a good game. Okay, Scott, your start.
My start this week, I'm going back to the well, guys. I'm going Lamar Miller. 2 weeks in a row is a start for me. Last week, I went back and watched the game. I didn't think he looked particularly good, but he wound up with 11 PPR fantasy points, 98 yards rushing. I don't know where he got them from, but they were there. So if he looked that way and still wound up with points, when he looks good, he'll have a good week for you. And I think this week against Tennessee, he'll be doing that. So I got him at about 110 rushing yards, at another 40 receiving yards, and he'll get in the end zone for you this week too. So Lamar Miller, give me a lot.
I do think that game in general is going to be Titans in Houston. They always play tight. I think that's going to be in the 20s. And I think it's going to be 3-4 touchdowns on each team. So I think that game's going to be pretty fun to watch. So I do like that pick a lot.
And then, you want to go second start? You want me to go?
Yeah, so I'll do my second start. So
Don't take my guy.
My second 49er with this week. Probably be my third.
Dang it. Took my guy.
Alfred Morris.
Oh, you didn't take
No, I did not take your guy. Alfred Morris. So look, the Lions just got torched by Isaiah Crowell. San Francisco has a similar zone blocking scheme that the Jets have, and the Detroit could not figure it out at all. I think Morris has a solid game. He kind of reminds me a lot of Isaiah Crowell. I think he's 64 yards and a touchdown. He may get like 1 or 2 catches, but 64 yards and a touchdown for rushing is my and he's very cheap option in daily if you want to get him and then maybe get like a Odell or AJ Green, not AJ Green, but Julio. Tried to bank on those wide receivers, but love me some Alfred Morris this week.
I'm going Matt Breida.
All right.
Same backfield, different running back. I like what I saw from Breida last year and last week. I'm thinking his usage is going to go up. He's the PPR guy, so he'll catch more of the passes there. Alfred Morris is more of the workhorse between tackles. So I'm expecting quite a bit of points for the 49ers to be putting up this week. So I think Breida, he's going to be looking 4 to 6 catches, probably close to that 100 all-purpose yards, and he'll find the end zone.
So Bilal Powell and Isaiah Crowell both had great games when they played against Detroit, so I can definitely see that Bilal Powell is like the Matt Breida of the New York Jets, so I'm not against it. I think both running backs will actually have a really good week this week, so I like it. So far we match on a couple so far, but no, it's been so far differ. Second running back, I'm sorry. Actually, I think I have 4 running backs on here. I actually got 4 running backs on here.
All right, we'll give them all 4.
All right.
Because I got multiple receivers.
All right, sweet. All right, so Chris Thompson, the running back for the Redskins. Look, I know Pearson stole the show with that breakout game, but look, he had double-digit touches, 100 scrimmage yards, and a touchdown last week. It looks like his leg injury is not hindering him at all. He's a potent part of this offense, along with Jordan Reed and Adrian Peterson. I think he's 105 total yards with about 5 catches. I didn't say he's going to get a touchdown, but it won't surprise me if he gets maybe a 3-4 yard touchdown, like on screen pass. But I'm loving me some Chris Thompson this week. And as to finish off my running back rankings, I am going with Royce Freeman of the Denver Broncos. The Browns were a bend don't break type of. Backwards. Sorry, it's double-sided
Like the
paper.
Browns.
My bad.
Raiders.
So he has a price tag about $4,600. He's a steal for daily. I believe this is the week he actually breaks out. I know a lot of people are like, no, Philip Lindsay had a great game and everything, but they both had equal touches. Philip Lindsay just had that touchdown, the opportunity to get that score.
The one thing that scares me with Royce Freeman is 39% snap percentage.
Well, we'll see. But I'm kind of confident on him. I think the Raiders just got torched by Todd Gurley, so I think he's my breakout player of the week. He's getting 115 yards and a touchdown, 115 total yards and touchdown. So that's my running back start ranking us.
All right, and then my last start, I don't know what his daily value is, but I know what his redraft value was, pretty low, and usually you'll have him as running back 3 or 4, but I'm going Tevin Coleman. Devonta Freeman out.
Now.
Yeah, Devonta Freeman out. I got Tevin Coleman rated as my running back 13 this week. Get him in your lineups. He'll be the every down workhorse back. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield.
He is, and I'm playing against him, so he's probably going to go off usually.
Atlanta is at home in a dome, and typically those help your faster paced backs there. So Tevin Coleman, he'll break the 100 all-purpose yards. He'll have several catches, and he'll probably find the end zone. Hopefully they figure out their red zone woes.
No, hopefully they don't find the end zone. I hope you don't do anything. You got to love Tevin Coleman. I thought Tevin Coleman was going to be the better fantasy back, even with Devonta Freeman on the field.
Yeah, I was. You can kind of see the transition.
Yeah.
Where Devonta Freeman's getting older and breaking down a little bit. This is a free agent year for Tevin Coleman, so they really need to decide which way they're going to go for the future.
In my start sit, Atlanta and Philadelphia, the week 1 opener, I had Tevin Coleman as my start and Devonta Freeman as really as my kind of like my sit. Even though a lot of people drafted him high, but he did get a touchdown on that week 1 game, so I'm all in. I agree. I like that a lot. Let's go into our wide receivers, guys. You're probably starting this guy. Like, you didn't need any worries to, but Jarvis Landry. He had 15 targets last week. 15 targets last week in the horrible conditions as it was. He's my major boom candidate. Josh Gordon isn't on the team anymore. He's not going to play. I believe that's going to go up even higher. They're going to be down a lot. I'm expecting 17 targets, 9 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown for Jarvis Landry. A huge day.
So he had 16 targets in week 1?
15.
15, and you're getting up to 17?
Yes.
Josh Gordon only had 1 target last week.
1 for it. Actually, no, he had 3 targets last week. He
3?
had 1 catch.
Oh, yeah, 1 catch for a touchdown.
But I actually predicted before the news. I actually wrote this before the news broke out with
right.
Josh Gordon. I actually had
only would bump him up even more.
I originally had Josh Gordon as my start because Josh Gordon is similar to Mike Evans in terms of physicality. That Mike Evans torched the Saints. But with him being out, he was going to start anyway. So I was expecting like 8-9 targets for Josh Gordon. So I'm being a little bit more conservative in terms of 17 targets, but this guy, I mean, this can easily be a 20-target game for Jefferson. He could break the catch record, honestly. I can see the catch record in this game. Was it 21 by Brandon Marshall? I mean, he can easily get that,
22, I think.
22?
Yeah. Well, I had Jarvis Landry as a start as well, but since I have 5 starts at wide receiver this week, we'll cross him off the board and move on to the next one. I got Emmanuel Sanders for you at 13. Denver looks like they're going to pass a lot, and pass deep. And they're not afraid to turn the ball over and keep throwing.
Yep.
So Emmanuel Sanders against this Raiders defense, lock it in. Broncos are scoring 30 points this week. And Emmanuel Sanders is their number 1 targeted wide receiver. Deep play. He just has more juice than Demaryius Thomas does at this point. Although Thomas did look good, and I was calling for his head last week. So Demaryius proved me wrong. I appreciate that, Demaryius Thomas.
And he's $6,200 in daily, which is absolutely. Just to give you an idea, Odell usually, depending on the format,
like
let's say,
9,000?
not depending on the format. So if it's a condensed version, like say like only the 4 o'clock games, and Odell's playing one of the 4 o'clock games, he's going to be up like over 10,000. But roughly, if you play just all the games all together, he's roughly around $9,000, $10,000. So the fact that you get a receiver that can easily get maybe Odell-like numbers in Emmanuel Sanders for $6,200, I love that. I'm actually starting him in 2 of my daily leagues. I think he has a really good game. He paid off last week. He had a pretty good game last week. So I love Emmanuel Sanders. I think that's going to be a good pick.
Yep. You want to go to your second start?
Yes, so Tyler Lockett. I think he's going to be the biggest benefactor to Doug Baldwin being out for 3-4 weeks, whatever it is. Hopefully it's on the shorter end. If not, I need Julian Edelman to hurry up and get unsuspended. But look, they signed him to a long contract. They like Tyler Lockett. He's a slot receiver, and the Bears got torched by Randall Cobb, who happens to be in the players in the slot. So I think my projection's a little bit conservative. I think 5 catches for 75 yards. I can see him get a little bit more because really it's only him and Brandon Marshall really the predominant pass catches in that offense. I can see this Seahawks being down a lot against the Bears, so I can see even more catches. But right now, 5 for 75.
Yep. Tyler Lockett was on that borderline of almost start for me, but I already had 5 written down, so I left Tyler Lockett off. I'm with you on that one. My second start this week is going to be Devin Funchess, primarily because Greg Olsen is out with a broken foot again. And if we go back to last year, Devin Funchess, weeks 3 for 15, the weeks that Greg Olsen was out missing with his foot, he had it every game, a minimum of 6 targets. He averaged 4 catches for 61 yards, and every other game he scored a touchdown. The average PPR fantasy total points for him were 15.2 points in PPR throughout that duration of time. So this week, Devin Funchess, wide receiver 1 for the Carolina Panthers. Lock him in. He's going to go for 6, 88, and a touchdown.
$4,700 in DraftKings too, guys. $4,700, which is literally insane. So I'm all in on Devin Funchess as well. I like that a lot. Anyways, so my third wide receiver start is going to be Chris Godwin. Now, okay, I originally thought Deshaun Jackson was going to be out, okay? But he's going to start. I'm still all in on Chris Godwin. So look, I originally thought with Deshaun Jackson being out, he was going to get 10 targets for 6 receptions for 85 yards and a score. But I'm going to go a little bit conservative. He still got a touchdown last week on 4 targets. I think he gets another touchdown this week. So I'm going to go 7 targets, 5 catches. Got that 85 yards and a score for Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I really like Chris Godwin for this season and long-term as a dynasty asset. So Tampa Bay, they play Philadelphia this week. Yeah, we're kind of just going to fall down if he can score a touchdown. And I think he's got a real good shot at doing that for
Actually, I mean, Deshaun Jackson's going to play, but I think Deshaun Jackson is it's going to be there for, like, coverage. I don't think he's going to – I think they're going to pull him out. I don't know. He might
not get a full workload.
That was a nasty fall he had. So I'm banking on Deshaun Jackson not playing the majority of the snaps. But even then, he was looking pretty good in that game last week, even though it was a high-scoring game. So I like Chris Godwin this week.
All right, my third start for you, and I'm going to give you one more after this guy. My third start for you is Corey Davis. He was a target hog last week down there in Miami through that weird game. Now Delaney Walker, dislocated ankle, has ligament damage, out for a year. I expect Corey Davis to get a few more looks going his way on top of the many looks he was already getting. It's a former top 5 pick, elite metrics.
They definitely like him. They definitely like him still.
Yeah, so he's gonna get enough work to do an output. Give you a good output there. I'm thinking 8 catches over 100 yards.
I do think the biggest beneficiary to Delaney Walker is Corey Davis as well as Deion Lewis. I think Deion Lewis is kind of the wide receiver number 2.
And then Jonnu Smith, he's got a little bit there too.
Yeah, yes, but he's actually. I'll talk about him a little bit later in certain other sit. I like Jonnu Smith, but for this game, I just don't think he's going to do well. But we'll talk about it a little bit later.
I would agree with you on that sentiment.
Let's go into our tight ends. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm throwing you guys one more start. And
changing up the format of the show.
Yeah. Well, you got to do an extra start. I get to do an extra start. That's just the way it works.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Fancy Leprechaun gets to do it too.
You're really taking an ownership of that nickname, by the way.
That's right. And I'm loading up Sammy Watkins this week and getting him in the lineup. Whoa. Settle down, guys. Hear me out. Yes, Tyreek Hill is there. But let's go back to last week. Tyreek Hill had a 77% snap percentage. Sammy Watkins had a 91% snap percentage. Well, what does that mean? It means he's on the field more. It means they see him as a wide receiver 1, and maybe Tyreek Hill's a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, now, it doesn't matter when he gets 3 targets.
Whoa. Everybody, we saw what happened last week at San Diego, right? We saw what happened. Tyreek Hill goes off. Everybody's seen what happened. He had the punt return. He had a long touchdown. Just all over the field, making plays all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Pittsburgh saw that too. So Pittsburgh, they're going to roll the coverage, double the coverage. They're going to block Tyreek Hill. Let's make Sammy Watkins beat us. And you know what? Sammy Watkins is going to do it. Sammy Watkins, 6 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I'm actually hoping that happens because I'm playing against Tyreek Hill. So let's go, Sammy Watkins. Let's go. Okay, that's pretty bold. I don't think he's going to do good. He may get a touchdown. But
hey, they paid him for a reason. This is the reason.
Okay, a lot of teams pay a lot of people for a reason, but they don't really work out. But we'll see. Let's go into our tight ends, guys. Go to tight ends. Okay, so my third Niner.
No, don't do this to me.
My third Niner.
Don't do this to me.
George Kittle.
Skittles.
George Kittles. Okay, look. Jimmy G loves him. He had 9 targets last week, only got 5 catches. But the main reasons why
he had 90 yards on them 5 catches.
But one of the main reasons why he's on my start list is that the Lions got torched by the slot, Quincy Enunwa.
He's like a hybrid tight end receiver.
Yes, and guess what? Guess what George Kittle played? He played 30 routes last week in the slot. So I think he's going to get 70 catches. 7 catches.
Yeah.
7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And I'm playing against him too. So I'm hoping that me saying this, he gets it's the opposite. So, but George Kittle, I'm loving George Kittle. He's a cheap flyer in daily too. He's a little bit up there, but he's not definitely like the Rob Gronkowski, the elite type, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce type value. A little bit cheaper. Yeah. I love myself some George Kittle.
I believe I am more into Kittle than you are. Where is he at in your tight end rankings?
One sec, guys.
I got to find this out because I love me some Kittle this week. I am all in on Kittle, and I think I got him up higher.
I'm 5.
3. I got George Kittle 3rd. Behind just Gronk and Travis Kelce. Yes, I know Kelce had a bad week last week. Talent's going to win out. George Kittle, 3rd tight end.
Disagree, but okay.
I completely agree with everything you said about George Kittle this week. I think
he's going to have a
7 for 92 and a touchdown. Second that. George Kittle, massive, week 2 against Detroit Lions.
It's not like we're a big off completely. It's just only 2 spots, but I like George Kittle.
I'm higher.
Okay, whatever. What was that MGK line? He goes, how can I look up to you? I'm 6'4" and you're 5'7". 6'4", 5'7".
MGK, Eminem.
All right. Okay, your beard's weird. Shave it. Okay, let's go. My tight end number 2. He was my sit last week because I didn't know how they're going to use him, but he had a good game. Jack Doyle. Okay, I am now comfortable to start Jack Doyle every week. He played 40 more snaps than Ebron. Ebron had a good game too, by the way. I was right on him. He will get a lot more targets than catches. I think he's going to catch a lot of balls. So, look, I expect this game to be high scoring, so I expect Doyle to be one of the prominent receivers behind T.I. Hilton. 7 catches, 72 yards.
Interesting you went with Jack Doyle. I did Eric Ebron. I had Eric Ebron as a sit last week. This week I'm loading Eric Ebron up. I like him a lot. I like his uses there with Andrew Luck, and I think he's a big red zone target.
I just want to point out that
I did rank Doyle ahead of Ebron.
Of course, because he's getting more catch.
But I do really like.
Hey, he texted me last week saying, "Good job on Eric Ebron." So I got a compliment And that probably pained him so much to send it too. And I would have been right with ASJ, but as again, ASJ gets a touchdown and gets called back every time. That's his curse.
Yep.
But
so Eric Ebron, I'm locking him up week 2. Part of this is I loved what I saw at Andrew Luck. To me, I proclaim, that's why I'm wearing the jersey, Andrew Luck is back. He's in old form. A little bit weaker of an arm, but 95% of what he had at 100%. He never had a really strong arm to begin with. So Eric Ebron is back. I like the way they use Ebron. I'm expecting 5 catches for 60 yards, and then maybe he gets a touchdown. I'm not going to go out there and say he will, but I do think he's a touchdown candidate every week, just with his role in that offense.
all right, cool. My last tight end is going to be Evan Ingram, tight end for the Giants. He's not going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, guys. He's going up against my team, Dallas Cowboys. Okay, look, he's the defense isn't elite in Dallas, so I think he's going to get more catches than he did last week, and I believe he's going to score this week. I'm having him as a 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown type player, which is pretty good fantasy numbers for the week. I think he can get more catches, but on the conservative side, because you do got Odell, Saquon, Sterling Shepard there, I'm going 4, 40, and 1.
All right. Against Dallas?
Against Dallas. Look, Dallas has a good front 7, so I think they're going to probably stop Saquon, but I think that the linebackers can't hold up to Evan Ingram, and their secondary is in question. So I think Evan Ingram's going to have a good game.
Yep, with you there. My last start is going to be Jared Cook. We saw what he did.
Oh my gosh,
the
dude.
LA Rams. That was
insane.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Broncos can't cover tight ends either, so expect another week. Not quite to the same output there, but I'm expecting another big game from Cook, over 100 yards, and we'll see if he gets into the end zone there.
It's insane. That game was insane. First of all, what about that pick that Derek Carr threw? What was that? That was John Gruden was like, that was so bad. Derek Carr was played so bad. I guess LA Rams is pretty good, but still, that throw was atrocious. Anyways, getting sidetracked. Okay, quickly going over the kickers. I got 2 kickers I'm really liking, especially in daily. So Harrison Buckner, look, you love a kick that plays on explosive offense, as Kansas City does. Look, I think that game's gonna be very high scoring. Pittsburgh will have opportunities to kind of bend, don't break type defense. So I think he's gonna get a lot of field goals. So I'm having 3 field goals and 2 extra points for Harrison Buckner. I think he's gonna have a really good fantasy day for a kicker. And then Will Lutz of New Orleans. Browns were similar. They have a bend, don't break type offense. But I do think Drew Brees is going to move the ball, have a lot of chances. I'm going 2 field goals and 3 extra points for my kickers for Will Lutz. I like them, both of them in daily.
All right. I only got 1 kicker for you, but I'm going Matt Bryant here. I've seen him drop quite a bit in this past week after his poor performance against the Philadelphia Eagles. He's back at home playing in a dome. Like I said, I think that game's going to be high scoring. And Atlanta struggles to score in the red zone. They probably don't go for it on 4th down anymore.
They would have kicked that field goal. They would have tied that game.
Right. But yeah, should have, would have, whatever. Matt Bryant, they're kicking field goals this week. I'm thinking 3 or 4 field goals.
I like it. Sweet. Going into our defense. So look, going Giants defense. I think they're a great streaming option. They're probably in redraft leagues. They're probably in the free agent right now. You can easily just pick them up, drop a player that's injured. Look, I'm not confident in the Dallas offense after especially what I saw last week. And I'm a Cowboys fan, and I watch the Cowboys. Zeke's the only option. There's no reliable pass catcher as of right now. There's no solid number 1 receiver. They're a good sneaky starting daily. I like them this week. I like them a lot. I think they're going to get 17 points allowed. They're going to get 3 sacks. I do think 1 turnover. I don't know if it's going to be an interception or a fumble, but they're going to get a turnover. Usually the Giants, Cowboys always play tough. They always get turnovers somewhere. So 17 points, 3 sacks, and 1 turnover for the New York Giants defense. And then LA Chargers. Look, I was wrong on the LA Chargers last week. My bad, guys. My bad. But they're going against the Bills. We saw what the Bills did against the Ravens. Look,
what they did against Chargers.
You got Josh Allen starting, okay? It's a great matchup. Now, with my luck, Allen's going to be the next Sam Darnold. They're going to go off, blow off, do things. But that's fancy for you. But for right now, I got LA Chargers going 10 points allowed, 3 total turnovers with 3 sacks. The LA Chargers. Yep,
I got LA Chargers my number 1 overall defense this week, so I'm with you.
Are you the type of person that's going to go anything against the Bills to be number 1 defense, like with the Jacksonville Jaguars back in the day? Oh, okay, every defense against Jacksonville Jaguars.
They're going to be safe for you. If you're able to do that and play them, they're safe. So I'll give you the Chicago Bears. Start them this week. Yes, it's Russell Wilson, but you know what? They give up a lot of sacks. They have an atrocious offensive line.
Russell
Wilson likes to extend plays.
3 picks last week.
Yep, he likes to extend plays. That also takes up more opportunities for sacks there. You'll get some points scored on you, but you'll get your turnovers and you'll get some sacks on the Seahawks. And then just a sneaky defense here. I'm going New York Jets. Played the New York Jets this week. I got them as a number 10 ranked defense here, playing against Miami this week. Ryan Tannehill shouldn't scare anybody.
Division game, they've always played tough. I like that a lot.
Right, so I think the Jets are a sneaky play. And then I had the Giants 11, so I agree. I think the Giants were a pretty good defense there.
They're a nice streaming option. A lot of they're in the free agency, they're in the waivers.
One of the cheapest.
Oh yeah, they're down there. They're down there. But I think the cheapest this week is Tampa Bay. Not Tampa Bay. It's probably Cleveland. Cleveland's up there like 2,000.
Yeah, Cleveland
2,000.
At New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but obviously in daily, I like to just do the best matchup. Try to pick the cheaper side on the defense because I want to load up on my main roster.
Right.
But
usually what I do is I go to the bottom, pick the cheapest defense. Same thing, kind of pick the cheapest kicker, fill out my lineup. Then if I have some extra money to spend when I'm done,
go back to it.
I'll go back and tinker.
I usually start with the when I go into daily leagues, I pick 2 or 3 players that I absolutely love this week. I make sure I get them. So like as a wide receiver, say I like Julio Jones this week. I'm going to get Julio Jones. But I always try to stack a receiver with its quarterback. So if I like, let's say Emmanuel Sanders, for example, $6,200. Case Keenum's not that expensive. I'll pay that with Case Keenum, so it gets stacked. Yeah. But I always try to get 2 or 3 players I absolutely like and then work my roster around them. You also got to be creative. You got to find players I like. For example, James White, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I love James White this week. Very cheap. Very, very cheap. Because DraftKings still has Rex Burkhead as a little bit higher, even though I project Rex Burkhead to be out, so they don't adjust their price inflation. They usually set their price values for like the week before. So when someone goes out, they're not going to adjust the price, so that you can really get some good value there. But let's go into our sit rankings, guys. Obviously, I'm going to keep this starts, and we're going to see who was right, who was wrong. But my first sit, for the quarterback position will be Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. So good. He had a pitiful week last week, guys. I don't think that's going to change. They're going up a pretty good defense in the Carolina Panthers who hold Dak Prescott to a mediocre fantasy day. Look, the last 7 home games Matt Ryan has played, he has failed to get 20 points. In the last 7 home games. And they play in the Dome. This is his home. Panthers always play tough against the quarterback. I'm staying away from Matt Ryan. I got 225 yards, 1 touchdown. I think he gets 2 picks. 225, 1 touchdown, 2 picks for Matty Ice.
Man. Well, my first sit this week is my boy, the Jersey, Andrew Luck.
Really? You're talking so high on him.
Yeah,
Why?
I really like him. But, there's a lot of other options I like this week. Washington was able to hold the ball and keep away from Arizona. I think they're going to employ kind of that a little bit this week where they'll be able to run the ball, sustain drives, and keep Andrew Luck off the field. Therefore, the volume is down. And Andrew Luck, he's not going to be able to throw 40 times this game. He'll probably have 28 attempts, complete 20 of them.
Sorry.
Cowboys and who?
49ers. So Josh Gordon is eyeing 2 teams. So we'll talk about Josh Gordon after this, but talk about later. I don't think it's drug related, guys. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But 2 teams apparently, Cowboys and 49ers, and I do believe the Browns will trade Josh Gordon. I don't think they're going to let Josh Gordon go. I don't think it's drug related, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But continue with your ranking.
So Andrew Luck, I think he's only going to complete 20 of 28. Low attempt, low volumes. About 220 yards or so, maybe 1 touchdown, a couple picks. Andrew Luck, he throws interceptions. So he'll take some sacks and throw interceptions.
He's the type of quarterback that he'll get you points, but you got to settle for the interceptions, okay? That's just what happens.
Yep. So Andrew Luck, I'm sitting him this week, but I love you long term, love you for this season.
All right, sweet. My second quarterback, sit. I sat him last week. I was right. I'm sitting him this week. Okay, Dak Prescott. All right, look, he played against Carolina Panthers. Okay, as a victim of Carolina Panthers. Look, the Giants over the last 2 home games that the Cowboys had, Dak Prescott only got 1 touchdown. He has never got they only held him to 1 touchdown in 2 career starts. So I think a lot of Zeke in this game if they want to win. Plus, I don't like the receiver options for the Dallas Cowboys. You sit every Cowboy this week besides Ezekiel Elliott until you see otherwise. 235 yards, that's total yards. 1 touchdown with the pick.
Yeah, no, I got Dak ranked 19th, so I completely agree with you on that sentiment. This week, I'm sitting Matthew Stafford as well. You know, he got burned last week against by the.
I actually had Matthew Stafford as my sleeper. I think he's going to turn around. He can easily have like that major boom.
He could, but just everything I'm gathering, you know, I'm pretty close with the Detroit Lions, being from Michigan. Really, it just feels like there's a locker room mutiny. Seems like
it's one game, man.
It really does. It seems like
it's one game.
Has lost the veterans, has lost.
That
the
is
locker room.
Blowing my mind. It's one game.
This is going to be a very, very long season for you Detroit Lions fans. So Matthew Stafford, he's in for another poor week. Many turnovers, many sacks. Probably because of volume when they're trailing, he'll break the 200, 250 yards, and a couple picks and maybe a touchdown. But
it's one game.
Poor game for the Lions. Traveling to the West Coast here.
It's one game. Wow. Okay. Third quarterback. A quarterback I don't think might even start anytime soon. He might have a couple more weeks left on him. He's going to get benched for a rookie quarterback. Sam Bradford. Okay, Sam Bradford. Look, I think he's going to lose his starting job to Josh Rosen very soon. I don't think it's this week. If he keeps up the performance, he played atrocious against possibly one of the better defenses, at least on paper. So, I'm sorry, one sec. The LA Rams have made, whose defense is really good, they made Derek Carr, who is up there in the elite status of quarterbacks, like a high school quarterback. So I don't like the matchup at all. I do think he's going to throw picks. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets benched halfway through the game for Josh Rosen, because I think this game's going to get out of hand pretty quickly. I'm going 245 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And on the flip side, start LA Rams. I think their defense is like the one defense besides the Jacksonville Jaguars that you're going to start every week. They look really good. They look really, really good.
Right. So my last and final sit for quarterbacks is I'm sitting Jared Goff. And there's a reason for that. Yes, they're going to be in the lead. We'll see how they get there. If Todd Gurley runs the ball, Jared Goff ain't going to have opportunities to throw the ball. And then I expect them to spend the second half cradling the lead, running the ball, holding on the possession, and not really airing it out and scoring a bunch of points. So Jared Goff, my 17th ranked quarterback this week. I think he'll score a touchdown, maybe 190, 210 yards, and just not enough volume there to really blow him up and give him a big week this week. Just do enough to win the game.
So you're basing the sitting of Jared Goff because you think the game's going to get out of hand really quick and then you're just not really going to throw the ball. That's fair enough. I mean, I like that. That's fair enough. Going into our running backs, guys. I talked about how I said Deion Lewis is my all-in on him. I'm all-in on this week. Well, Derrick Henry is. I'm not all-in this week. All right? Now watch. Deion Lewis is going to have a bad game. Derrick Henry is going to have a good one. That's what it is. That's my life. Okay? And I'm going to accept it. But look, 21% of the snaps, like roughly 22% of the snaps against the Miami Dolphins. Okay? Yes, I know the game was a lot of delays, but I don't care. I mean, I don't like it. He's a volume runner. He needs 9, 10, 15 carries to break out that big one. I don't think they're going to give it to him. I think Deion Lewis is the most fantasy running back that I like a lot. They use him a lot in the checkdowns and the screens. Especially with Delaney Walker, I think Deion Lewis is going to be a little bit more of a receiver. I don't like it. And the game in Miami was rainy conditions, which favors a heavy bruising running back as Derrick Henry, but they didn't use him for any reason. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the offensive coordinator likes Deion Lewis a little bit better. So I'm kind of wanting to see what Derrick Henry does before I put him back in my lineups. So I recommend sitting Derrick Henry. And he has fallen dramatically down in the DraftKings rankings in terms of prices. He's way down there. I don't think he's going to have a lot of touches. I think he's going to get 30 yards on 8 to 9 touches. I think he's going to be a lot of Deion Lewis. I think he's going to be very similar. I don't think that Miami game was a fluke. I think it's something that the offense likes in Deion Lewis. But Derrick Henry is my sit.
So my sit this week, I was just looking. I haven't heard anything yet. But Leonard Fournette, he's not playing. Yeah, he was going to try to play on his hamstring. It's always unlikely to play. I haven't seen if they ruled him out yet.
No, they ruled out. I got the alert last night. They're ruling him out. Is that highly unlikely he's playing?
Okay, so it still hasn't been official then. So
it won't be official until about 3 o'clock.
He might test it, even though it's late game too. So really, even if he does play, still sit him. Don't play Leonard Fournette this week.
Love Yeldon this week in daily, guys. Love Yeldon.
But anyways, I'll give you another name out there just because we think Leonard Fournette's out. Royce Freeman, I am sitting Royce Freeman this week.
Ooh,
I
really?
don't like the way they employed the running backs there. It was just muddled committee. All three backs were getting in. Phillip Lindsay got the most work, got the most carries, got the most receptions. He was on the field the most. I liked what I saw out of Royce Freeman, but for the time being, it seems like they were really high on Phillip Lindsay there. So Royce Freeman, I'm going to sit and wait on him. Phillip Lindsay, he's a small guy. He's 5'8", 176 pounds, and they're running him between tackles. So it's only a matter of time before he gets nicked up. And then it's just Royce Freeman versus Devontae Booker, and Booker looked absolutely horrible. I'm surprised he's still on the roster. I'd be cutting him with how bad Devontae Booker has been looking.
Fair enough. Actually, I have him as one of my starts. My number 2 running back that I am sitting this week is Jamal Williams, running back for the Packers. Look, I said this before, Aaron Jones is going to be the guy. He's a much better running back. I have Aaron Jones. I can't wait for him to come back. But look, I don't think he's worth a roster spot once he comes back. So look, I know he went up against Vikings, who's one of the toughest run defense out there, but I just don't like the matchup this week against the Vikings, especially if Rodgers doesn't play now. Reports are Rodgers is going to play. But then I still don't like Jamal Williams because he didn't get enough touches to verify you wanting to start him. So I think he gets 13 touches for 47 yards. Sit Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is such a type of running back. It's like Derrick Henry. He needs volumes. He doesn't break a lot of big runs. Aaron Jones is the running back that breaks the 10, 15-plus runs. And he hasn't done anything to prove to me that the Green Bay Packers are going to start Jamal Williams. But use Jamal Williams. So do not start Jamal Williams. You sit him this week. Scott?
Yep. Jamal Williams, my third guy I had sitting this week. Completely agree. Vikings defense is really good all around. And Green Bay, they're going to have trouble running the ball there. I would expect a bigger game out of Ty Montgomery than you'll get out of Jamal Williams. So absolutely sit Jamal Williams for this week.
What do you think about when Aaron Jones comes back? Do you think Jamal Williams is even worth, especially in not redraft leagues? I don't think so. I think they liked Aaron Jones when he first came out, and I think Aaron Jones, he's going to be fresh. He's ready to go. I think Aaron Jones is the back you want to own. But what do you think, Scott?
Well, they drafted Jamal Williams ahead of Aaron Jones, so they liked him better as a rookie coming out, but I don't like the situation, period. I don't like really any of them.
Well,
so
everyone...
If you can get him cheap as one of your last players on your team and have Aaron Jones, I'd take a swing at that.
That is true, but...
I haven't liked what I've seen out of Jamal Williams either.
When Aaron Jones played, he had a lot more production than Jamal Williams did. He was performing a lot better, but that's a good point. I don't think Jamal Williams is worth keeping in redraft once Aaron Jones comes back. But running back number 3 that I'm sitting this week is... Chris Carson. So Jamal Williams, week 1, happened to play against the Bears, okay, which happens to be what Chris Carson is playing against. Bears rendered Jamal Williams useless, and I don't like the matchup, and I feel Rashad Penny is going to be more used in this game. I think a little bit more work. I don't like the Chris Carson because I think volume is very important for a running back. You got to get touches to be confident starting someone. So I think he gets 10 total touches for 54 yards for Chris Carson. And I do think this game's going to get passing. They're going to kind of be behind and everything like that. And Russell Wilson is going to run out and do his thing and try to keep the game alive. So I'm sitting Chris Carson this week.
Yeah, my final one, I'll do a combination of Patriots backfield, Rex Burkhead, James White, possibly Sony Michel is going to make it to this game. Kenyon Barner, who they just signed.
Well, it's interesting because my report's saying Rex Burkhead's not going to play, and Sony Michel is going to be inactive, so I think it would be all James White. I have James White as one of my sleepers, and he's going to be one of my starts in daily, but go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
But anyways, just linebackers, the whole defense from the Jaguars. I don't want to touch any Patriots running backs this week against Jaguars defense.
The one thing I want to say that I do like James White a lot because it seems like the Jacksonville Jaguars have a trouble with that pass catching kind of scat back. I'm not saying that that's like their greatest weakness, but I do think James White has the better value. I don't think Rex Burkhead is going to play, and Sony Michel, from what I've heard, that he's still kind of nursing an injury. I think James White's going to be the guy. I like James White a lot. I do think he gets a touchdown this week, but I can understand from Scott's point of view why he is staying away from him because the Jacksonville defense is one of those defenses that, like the LA Rams, where they just kind of kill fantasy production.
So we got Rex Burkhead. He did travel with the team, so he might be one of them game time decision types before we know if he's going to play.
Okay, but as I said, I still like myself, Jim James. I'm having him one of my dailies. So my wide receiver 1, going into a wide receiver sit rank projections, is Chris Hogan, guys. Now, I was very high on him last week with the Texans. I thought he was going to have a good game. He disappointed me. He made me look very bad in the big cat country community. Thanks a lot, Chris Hogan. He's going up against one of the most dominant cornerback duo in the league, in the Jacksonville Jaguars, A.J. Boye, Jalen Ramsey. I think that if the Patriots want to move the ball, they're going to move the ball through Rob Gronkowski or Rex Burkhead, James White, one of those running backs. I just don't like him. I think you sit him, I think he gets 4 catches for about 43 yards.
Yep, Chris Hogan, absolutely had him locked and loaded as a wide receiver sit. I didn't rank him inside my top 30, so I'm really low on Chris Hogan this week. I expect the combination of Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boye to shut him down. So Chris Hogan, don't start him. They'll start him in daily. And if you got a better option, which I'm sure you likely do, start him. Start somebody else in your redraft leagues.
So Josh just said, the fantasy ogre just said, trade Burkhead for Gio. Absolutely. If you're getting Gio, all right. If you're Gio owner, do not trade for Burkhead. Absolutely not. All right. So my sit number 2. Now this is going to surprise a lot of people. Okay, but hear me out on the stats. Okay, Randall Cobb. All right. Now look at Cobb. Absolutely sucks against the Vikings. Okay, I don't know what the Vikings have. They have his number, or they just their slot corner is really good, but dating back to 2015, Randall Cobb only has 1 game with 10 plus fantasy points against the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, that was in 2015. Combine that with Rodgers possibly not playing, or if he is playing, not 100% healthy. Reports says that he is going to play, but he's not going to be 100% healthy. I don't like the matchup, and I don't like the production that Randall Cobb is going to get. So I'm definitely passing on him. I think he's going to get 4 to 5 catches for about 46 to 50 yards for Randall Cobb.
Yep, this week I'm sitting Amari Cooper. We saw he had a poor game last week. What do you have? 1 catch and then a rush.
John Gruden said he was open down the field, though.
Yep, they said he was open many times. They want to get him involved. I just think Denver is going to be able to shut him down. They're a good enough defense to keep him quiet. And then he'll have another bad week this week, and then you go get Amari Cooper because he'll be big the rest of the year. So Amari Cooper, sit, and then one more name here, since my counterpart here is typing a message. We got Allen Robinson. I'm sitting him this week against the Seattle Seahawks.
Really? That's interesting.
Yep. I didn't like the way he was used. I thought he should have been used more against the Packers. Maybe it was game script. Maybe they thought they were up by enough to lead. I don't know why you would ever think that playing Aaron Rodgers. So they got conservative in the second half, but Allen Robinson, I'm not a fan of the usage here. I like the player. Maybe it's a lack of confidence I have in Mitch Trubisky here, but Allen Robinson, I'm sitting him as well. So we have a comment from one of our viewers. If you watched our kind of FOTB flag on the play draft collab, there's one owner whose name's Scott, not this Scott, who happened to have a whole draft in just white players. Okay? It was pretty amazing. He had a pretty good, it was pretty amazing how he did it, but he has a problem. He has Rex Burkhead, who may or may not play. So he asked us, I need a white running back, not being racist, guys, white running back to fill for Burkhead. So, Scott, is Philip Lindsay, is that considered white? Is he beige? No. You got an idea? I'm thinking of a right running back on top of my head. I don't know. You might have to find a light-skinned person, Scott. I don't know. Just play Rex Burkhead.
Just play Rex Burkhead. Hopefully he plays. I don't know. That's a tough choice. There's very limited white choices. Anyways. Scott says, put the mic to your chin. Your voice is still low. Anyways, going into my sit number 3 for wide receiver. I do have Amari Cooper as well, guys. I don't like the matchup. I don't know what the problem with the Raiders that they cannot get their number 1 receiver involved. Jared Cook blew up, made it look like the number 1 guy. I don't like the Cobb's his chances to produce anything. I don't like this offense in general at all. I actually have 5 catches for 61 yards, and I think that's a little bit on the positive side. I don't think that's going to even get that many. I'm just found that, okay, I think he has a chance to get like 1 catch for like 30 yards and then like 4 catches for like combined 20 yards. That's my point of view on Amari Cooper. Going into my tight end. Now, as you see, Scott can see that I kind of scribbled out. I originally had David Njoku. Did this before Josh Gordon, everything happened, blah, blah, blah. So I scratched it out. I'm doing ASJ. Okay, yes, the guy that I said that thought was going to be the number 1 tight end, but this week I just don't like it. Okay, I don't like it. Pats on the road. Here's a stat. I'm a stat guy. I'm a fat guy. I like to do facts. Okay, Pats on the road only average 10.5 fantasy points per game against opposing tight ends. And combine that with the fact that he's a touchdown or bust candidate. Even though he gets touchdowns, he always gets called back. It is that type of player. I do not like ASJ this week. I think a lot of Yeldon. I do think Keenan Cole, or D.D. Westbrook, depending on who gets Stephon Gilmore as the defender. So I'm sitting ASJ this week.
Okay. Well, my first sit this week is going to be Jimmy Graham. He only had 2 catches last week. Now we're going against Minnesota Vikings. Tough defense there. George Kittle did have a nice game, 5 for 90, although I'm sure the Vikings weren't cued in on George Kittle. I'm sure they know of him, but I'm sure they were looking elsewhere to stop other parts of the team. So I don't think Jimmy Graham gets schemed open like George Kittle does, and I don't think Jimmy Graham has the same athleticism. He is a touchdown or bust tight end, and I don't anticipate him receiving that touchdown in week 2.
Just got another comment from one of our reviewers from the Fanager. Quincy Enunwa or Chris Hogan. This is the easy answer. Quincy Enunwa. He looks really good. That neck injury doesn't look like it's affecting him. Sam Darnold is targeting him. Plus, he's playing a lot in the slot. And Sam Darnold likes the slot guys. He got a touchdown last week. I think Quincy Enunwa gets another touchdown this week. Going into our tight end, number 2.
I also agree, Quincy Enunwa.
Thank you. I'm trying to impress that you're kind of agreeing with me a lot more. When we started doing this fantasy thing, back like 6-7 years ago, 10 years ago, and you were like, Matt, you're horrible, and I'm starting to come around. Okay.
You're learning from me.
No, I don't think so. Will Dissly, tight end for the Seahawks, guys. Look, he's not going to get 66-yard catches every week. That predominantly was his fantasy production right there. He did get the touchdown, but look, I'm not sold on Will Dissly yet as a reliable fantasy tight end. Plus, I think he's going to stay in the block a lot more because he's going to be facing Khalil Mack. So I don't like Will Dissly this week. I want to wait on him, see what he does against a pretty good defense in the Bears. I'm sitting him this week. I think he's going to get 3 catches for 25 yards.
Yeah, I did not rank Will Dissly, nor had any interest in picking him up. Those were kind of fluke plays, and Nick Vannett was still running ahead of him as the number 1 predominant tight end there. Going into my second sit will be Kyle Rudolph this week. We really thought the usage would be there for the tight end from Kirk Cousins.
Got a touchdown.
And then didn't do hardly anything after that.
Got a touchdown, though.
So he looks like a touchdown-dependent type guy with the way they were using him. They were
which
using
is
a lot
shocking.
of Thielen
Which is shocking.
Diggs there. A lot of throws to Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. So Rudolph, I'm tampered a little bit on the ceiling there. So I'm guessing 4 catches for 50 yards, no touchdown.
My third and final tight end that I'm seeing this week, who I like a lot just as an athlete and potential, but is Jonnu Smith, the Tennessee Titans tight end. Just because Walker's out, I don't expect Smith to have that predominant role yet. He needs some time to develop a rapport with Blaine Gabbert or Marcus Mariota, who's ever starting. So right now it's going to be Marcus Mariota, but he still doesn't have any feeling in his fingers, so he might not be able to grip the ball, so it might be Blaine Gabbert. So I don't expect him to jump right into it. I did draft in one of my dynasty leagues, did trade him, but I see a lot of Deion Lewis and a lot of Corey Davis in this game. I don't like him at all. I think he's going to get 4 catches, maybe about 30 yards, 30, 35 yards for Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, my last sit would be O.J. Howard. Tough matchup this week going up against Philadelphia. Cameron Brate didn't get worked in at all last week. He had 0 points, threw a dud up for you. So I expect Cameron Brate to get a little bit more love this week, and O.J. Howard, some looks to come back from O.J. Howard. So I got him at 2 catches for 30 yards.
All right, cool. Going to quickly in the defense before going to our ranking. So my 2 defense will be the Seahawks defense is going to be my first one. They're no longer the Legion of Boom. They give up a lot of points. I don't expect them to get 3 picks every game. Denver is a pretty good I'm not Denver. The Bears is a pretty good, decent offense. I think it'll be a lot of Jordan Howard. 25 points against, 2 sacks, 1 turnover. Then Kansas City. Steelers play much better at home. As Scott said, it's combined 50+. That scares the crap out of me as a Kansas City defense owner. I expect a lot of touchdowns and a minimal turnover. I think 28 points against, which is a little bit lower. It could be easier in the 30s, but only 3 sacks.
Right. I have Kansas City as a sit all season. But going into my sits this week, I'm going to give you 2. We're going to go Minnesota against Green Bay, obvious reasons. And then also Jacksonville against New England for obvious reasons. Took the layups there for my defensive sits. But those are typical. Every week you're looking to start.
AFC Championship, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense posted pretty good fantasy numbers. He got a touchdown.
That got called back.
But whatever. Miles Jack wasn't down. NJWD.
So Houston or Denver, which defense would you play here, Matt?
So Houston against the Tennessee Titans or the Denver against Seattle Seahawks? Houston, easily.
Denver plays Oakland.
Denver plays Oakland. Never mind. I'm sorry. I gotta get my matchups going. Still go Houston. I do think that defense, especially if Blaine Gabbert is going to be the quarterback, I just don't like the...
Yeah, if Blaine Gabbert plays, absolutely, I say Houston, but I went with Denver in my rankings. I just think Logic's going to win out, Mariota's going to play.
Look, they always play tough. The Houston and Titans do. That's a division game. It's going to be like one of those 14, 17 games or 21, 12, 17 games where they're going to get sacks, they're going to get turnovers. I'm liking the matchup a lot better. For my defenses, I want turnovers, and I think turnovers and sacks get more accustomed to Houston than they will be for Denver. So I'm liking Houston a lot. And my kicker this week is going to be Mason Crosby. I'm starting him, but obviously Rodgers is going to be 100%. So if Rodgers can do what he did against the Bears and move the ball, obviously it's fine for right now. I think there's better options you can stream at. Obviously, if anything would have happened to Aaron Rodgers in the game, I don't trust John Kaiser to move the ball, so I'm expecting 1 for 1 extra point. But as of right now, Rodgers is playing, so that could easily be a little bit better.
I'm sitting Matt Prater. He missed the field goal on Monday night.
56 yards. It was like 56.
Those are the ones he hits. He's known to be hitting them big.
In Denver.
Ones. He hits them in Detroit, too. He's been hitting them, and now he's missing them. So I'm sitting Matt Prater here. He could hit a 50-yard field goal, and that puts the fork to mine. But I'm not a fan of the Detroit Lions offense as a whole right now. It's pretty sickening seeing what happened on Monday Night Football. So as a whole, I'm just everything's coming down for a little while here in Detroit until I see some cohesiveness with the veterans, the players, and the coaching staff.
What is his injury? I don't know who you're talking about, Josh. Don't know what you're talking about. All right, so that was our start sit this week. We'll recap next week, see how many we got right or wrong. If you want a more in-depth look at my rankings, Big Cat Country, look for Brian Fold for Big Cat Country. Collabing with him all this year. Look forward to your awesome hate mail or fan mail, whatever. I look forward to it. Appreciate it. It's going to our quarterback rankings.
Rodgers hurt his knee.
There's no ligament damage as of right now. It's going to be sore and sprained for 3 or 4 weeks. But say 75% Rodgers is still better than like 100% of Kaiser or whatever other quarterback. He's still probably going to start him. He may not be that mobile guy as everyone knows he is. But going to our quarterback rankings, okay? These are our rankings for week 2. This is not our rankings for the whole season. These are just for week 2 based off matchups and what we think they're going to do. So I'll do my first 5. We'll do his 5, back to 5, back to 5. Quarterbacks are doing 1 through 20. Running backs, receivers doing 1 through 30. Tight ends 1 through 20. Defense 1 through 20. I'm not even mentioning kickers. But going on quarterbacks, my week number 1 quarterback 1 will be Drew Brees this week. Going up against the Cleveland Browns, I think he's going to get a lot of production. He's Drew Brees, probably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game. Followed up with Big Ben. As I said, that game's going to be high scoring. I expect a 4 or 5 touchdown performance from Big Ben. Maybe 2 or 3 to Antonio Brown. It's going to be one of those games for Big Ben and Antonio Brown. Patrick Mahomes, as I said, high-scoring game, followed by Cam Newton, then Phillip Rivers. That was my top 5. They both have great matchups. I think they're both going to have solid QB1 numbers this week.
Right. My number 1 QB, I'm also with you on Drew Brees there. Enough said, he's Drew Brees playing at home in the Dome. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I got Big Ben. Big Ben at home. We heard the splits, home and road. Big Ben, great quarterback at home. Massive game from him this week against Kansas City. My number 3 quarterback this week is going to be Cam Newton. I think he's going to do it, passing, rushing. probably gives you the floor of 50 rushing yards, and he's that every week candidate of a rushing touchdown there. So Cam Newton, big game against Atlanta in the Dome. Number 4, I got Phillip Rivers starting him this week. He's playing Buffalo. We saw what Baltimore did last week, like you said. Big game Phillip Rivers this week. I'm expecting 3 touchdowns.
Buffalo did play against them last year, and that game was kind of like high scoring too, so that could be a good.
Yep. And then my number 5, Pat Mahomes. We did last week. That was just absurd, the connection between him and Tyreek Hill. So this is the highest scoring projected week this week with the Steelers and the Chiefs. So the Chiefs are going to have to keep up with the Steelers playing home Big Ben, and I think Pat Mahomes will do it. With a big game here for you in week 5 or week 2.
Week 5. Wow.
He's ranked 5. Week 2.
Gotcha. All right. So my 6 through 10 is going to be Jimmy G of the Niners, Matthew Stafford. I do think Matthew Stafford is going to rebound. I know Scott differs, but I think he's going to rebound. Kirk Cousins. I do think Deshaun Watson is number 9, and number 10 will be Russell Wilson. That's my top 10.
Yep. So I got Deshaun Watson, number 6. He had a huge game against Tennessee last year, so he has a likelihood he could do that again. I do think New England stifled him a little bit, and they'll get it figured out, and Watson will look better this week against Tennessee than he did last week against New England. Jimmy G is my number 7. I think he's got a great matchup this week against Detroit. Sam Darnold, the youngest starting rookie in week 1, had a great game against Detroit Lions. Well, let's see what Jimmy G does, who's had a lot of success in this league. Number 8, Aaron Rodgers. This is pretty low for Aaron Rodgers. I'm shocked we got him here at 8. But it's just a bad matchup in Minnesota. He's battling that knee injury problem. There is a world where he takes a hit or lands on it wrong, and Kaiser's finishing out the game for him. Number 9, I got Kirk Cousins. I don't want to like Kirk Cousins, but he's doing.
You got to give him some props. He's producing pretty good. That offense is really good.
Yeah, and that's with only one off season of getting familiarized with everybody. So as the season progresses and he gets more acclimated and gets on more of a rapport with his receivers, I think Kirk Cousins' ceiling could get even higher.
I think one of the biggest concerns for Kirk Cousins owners or people that are hesitant on drafting Kirk Cousins was how are they going to use that running game, right? Well, it seemed like it wasn't like run dominant or pass dominant. It was kind of like 50-50. And then Dalvin Cook is a pass catcher itself. So I think that's what's more appealing to me is that, okay, he's not throwing the ball 30, 35 times a game and getting those picks. He's getting a lot more help, getting a lot more production that way.
More efficient.
Yeah.
And then my number 10 here, I got Tom Brady. I just think they're going to have to throw the ball to have success against Jaguars. And they'll find success through volume, and Tom Brady will come in at quarterback 10.
All right. So my number 11. So I did this with the assumption of Aaron Rodgers not playing, but I'm going to project. I just added him in with Tom Brady at number 11. Him and Tom Brady right there. Both don't have appealing matchups to me. Tom Brady is going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aaron Rodgers is going against the Minnesota Vikings. Both tough matchups, in my opinion, especially when Rodgers is banged up. But both of them on number 11. Going to number 12 will be Alex Smith, followed up by Jared Goff, Case Keenum, and then Andrew Luck. I do think Andrew Luck has a pretty good, enticing matchup, but as Scott said, he does throw picks. He will get you touchdowns, but he will throw picks. It's just how many picks will he throw? Hopefully it's only one. That's it for my top 15.
Yeah, I also have Andrew Luck ranked 15. So that's, I like him. I like him going forward. I don't think it's a bad matchup. Although, we saw it was a bad matchup last week for Arizona. I think Arizona was inept at quarterback. But I just like the options ahead of him, so that's why Andrew Luck's a sit for me at 15. But at 11, I got Russell Wilson. He just makes things happen. He has bad matchups all the time, plays against good defenses, yet he still finds a way to score some points, get enough fantasy through his rushing and passing, and he is the Seattle Seahawks offense. So he'll do enough to have a good week for you. Number 12, can't talk. Number 12, I have Alex Smith. He's just looked really efficient last week against Arizona, and I think Arizona's a better defense than Indianapolis, and now he gets to play at home instead of being on the road. Mm-hmm. This is a good matchup for him.
Him and Jordan Reed had a little rapport going on. And Jordan Reed's healthy. That's amazing. He can't get hurt.
So I think Alex Smith will throw you 2 touchdowns this week. He's a solid start for you. Number 13, I got Tyrod Taylor. I just think they're gonna be trailing in this game, and they're just gonna have to throw it around and play catch up here. So I'm expecting a big game for Tyrod Taylor, both rushing and passing. He could probably break 300 yards passing and then add 50 yards rushing. And with this track meet of a game, he'll have touchdowns too. 14, I'm taking Matt Ryan to bounce back from last week against Philadelphia. Matt Ryan's a better quarterback than we saw last week. Now he's playing at home, friendly environment in the dome. I think he'll have a good week here, and we'll see if they can correct them red zone woes.
No.
And then 15, like I said, Andrew Luck. We've already talked about Andrew Luck here, so I like the player. Not a bad matchup. I just think there's other matchups that are better for this week in particular.
I like Andrew Luck, as I said. He's a good option in daily, I think. But rounding up my top 20, so I got Tyrod Taylor. Everything Scott said, I do think there's going to be a lot of garbage time involved. Garbage time still counts as fantasy points. I like him a lot. Mitchell Trubisky, he showed some pretty good form against that Monday night game. I think he's going to have a pretty good game. I do think him and Allen Robinson will finally have some sort of connection going on. Marcus Mariota, low. I have Marcus Mariota low because I just don't know what his health is going to be like. It's one of those games where you can easily get a rushing touchdown or something like that. Following up by Matt Ryan at number 19. I'm not sold on Matt Ryan. He's one of my sits this week. I do not like him at all. I think Matt Ryan is going down over the years. And probably my top 20 will be Blake Bortles. No, Blake Bortles, this could be one of the games Blake Bortles gets 1 or 2 touchdowns. He's very cheap in daily. Very good streaming option. But that rounds up my top 20 for quarterbacks.
Right. Going into 16, I got Matthew Stafford. I'm down on him, down on the whole Lions situation here. So having him 16, I recognize he's still going to do enough to be relevant. I just think it's in for a poor week traveling to the West Coast this week. Jared Goff, I'm also sitting him. I just think game script's going to indicate that they're going to be running the ball and playing keep away from Arizona, similar to what the Redskins did last week. 18, Case Keenum. I really liked what I saw out of Case Keenum last week. Throwing the ball down the field, stretching the defense out. I think they'll do that and have success with it. He did have some turnovers last week, so he'll probably be one of them gunslinger types, although he doesn't have a big arm, where he'll throw it in there and take picks and live with them. Number 19, I got Dak Prescott. The one thing about Dak Prescott I do like about this week is the Giants were like, "Oh, you want to beat the Cowboys? Stop Ezekiel Elliott, make Dak beat you, and you got a good way to do it." And Dak responded with challenge accepted. So I have optimism for him for this week.
I don't.
Although I am, 19, I'm low on him. I have him as a sit with you. I wouldn't play him, but I am looking forward to see how he's going to show up this week. And then 20, I got Blake Bortles. Same sentiment, everything you said. I think he's good enough to actually put up fantasy points. Just not a great quarterback. He's just good enough, serviceable, and he could get you there for your fantasy team.
My thing with Dak Prescott is, I understand your point, the optimism that he's going to try to build. Like, his mechanics are still bad. He still does things that just really just dumbfounds me. He doesn't set his feet. His accuracy isn't there. He kind of forces into Cole Beasley, trying to make it Cole Beasley the number one receiver, not looking for the open guy. I'm not sold on Dak Prescott. I want to see what he can do. For some reason, the Dallas Cowboys are trying to make him into the guy that determines if you win the game or not. He's not the Tony Romo guy. He's not the Roger Staubach. He needs production from the running back. I do think Zeke gets, instead of getting 15 touches, Zeke gets close to 20, 25 touches. And that's going to dampen the production of Dak Prescott, I think. But that rounds off our quarterback rankings. Going into our running back rankings, top 5 is interchangeable, but I'm basing off matchups. I'm going Todd Gurley number 1, Alvin Kamara number 2, Melvin Gordon, followed by Ezekiel Elliott, followed by David Johnson as my top 5. Obviously, all 5 of them, I think, going to have great games. I'm not going to disagree if one person's higher than the other. I think they're both all interchangeable. But based off matchups, I have those as my top 5.
Yep, I got Alvin Kamara 1. He had a great, massive week last week. I think now he'll get more rushing volume on top of the receiving game there. I'm not expecting 3 touchdowns from him, but he'll probably find the end zone once. Todd Gurley, number 2. Like I said, I think game script's going to indicate that they're going to run the ball a lot in this game. Melvin Gordon, number 3. Kind of the same thing here. I expect a blowout here in Buffalo. So I think Melvin Gordon's in for a big week. And I think Austin Eckler, name that I didn't rank, but I think he could be in for a nice PPR game too. And then number 4, Ezekiel Elliott. I do think the Cowboys will get the running game on track this week. He'll find the end zone once, maybe twice, and go over for 100 yards here. And then number 5, I'm going to go James Conner. With what we saw last week out of James Conner, I mean, crazy good game. He looked like Le'Veon Bell 2.0. So I think the usage is going to be here. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Plenty of looks for James Conner. He'll find the end zone.
Sweet. I have James Conner at number 6, followed by Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt, and Dalvin Cook. I do think Dalvin Cook has a really good chance of having I think he can get like that 2 touchdown performance in terms of a receiving touchdown, maybe a rushing touchdown. He looked really good last week, but that rounds up my top 10.
All right, so my 6 or 10 here, I go with Christian McCaffrey. He's in for plenty of looks, plenty of pass catching looks here. So big PPR game from him. He'll get you 20 points this week. David Johnson, I'm going number 7. A little bit down on him. I'm losing faith in the quarterback situation there in Arizona, which will ultimately hurt David Johnson. Although he got plenty of looks in the passing game, and he did get the touchdown last week to salvage the day. Kareem Hunt, number 8. I just think this is a track meet. This game is going to go over 52 points. I'm taking you over on the 52 line there, and Kareem Hunt will find the end zone for you too. Saquon Barkley, number 9. He'll do enough in the passing game to have a good game. I don't know if the rushing is going to be there. I think you got a pretty solid front 7 there in Dallas. I think the secondary is really your weak point.
It is, I agree.
But the front 7 will do enough to stifle Barkley. He'll break 1 or 2 long runs, but for the most part, you'll see him in and around the line of scrimmage. But he'll have 80 to 90 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. And then Jordan Howard going number 10. I really love the usage that we saw out of Jordan Howard on Sunday night.
He was a 3-down back. He was a 3-down back.
They were absolutely deploying him as a 3-down back. They were passing it to him. He didn't drop any, so it looks like maybe he shored up that part of his game. And if that's the case, he could truly, truly be a stud for your team, an underrated stud for the 2018 season. I got Jordan Howard number 10.
Rounding up my top 15, so I got Lamar Miller. As Scott said, I do think this is one of those games where it's going to be close. I think he's going to get a rushing touchdown. I think he gets over 100 yards. I like Lamar Miller a lot this week. I know it was kind of disappointment last week, but he's going to get his touches. Jordan Howard, everything Scott said and then more, he proved that he can be capable of a 3-down back. They're using him a lot. I like him in daily as well. Jay Ajayi, I don't like the number of touches he's getting, but Darren Sproles isn't going to play, so maybe that's going to be a little bit higher in touches. He did get 2 touchdowns last week. Maybe they're going to move the ball. Maybe he gets another touchdown. Jay Ajayi is up there in my top 15. Tevin Coleman, this is before Devontae Freeman was officially out. He's probably a little bit higher, but Tevin Coleman, I think, is a better fantasy running back than Devontae Freeman. He has easily a chance to get 5-6 catches. Maybe 80 total yards and a touchdown. I like Tevin Coleman a lot. And then following up number top 15 is Deion Lewis. As I said before, I think he's going to get 20 touches, and I think he gets a touchdown. I like Deion Lewis a lot this week.
Yep. So number 11, I got Dalvin Cook. Good matchup this week against Green Bay. He'll catch plenty of balls out of the backfield. They were using him significantly in that position last week, so look for him to have a big game here. Lamar Miller, number 12. I'm a fan of him this week, playing against Tennessee. Going over 100 yards, touchdown. We talked about that earlier. Tevin Coleman, 13. Devonta Freeman's out. He's going to be the workhorse here. You'll see a little bit of the number 2 back worked in, but Tevin Coleman get the majority of the carries, and he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. I got Jay Ajayi, 14. If I trusted them a little bit more, I'd have them higher, but Darren Sproles is out, so I think there'll be a little bit more workload there. So Jay Ajayi, I'm going to have him 14. But if he plays a good again this week and gets more touches going forward, I do look to have him around that 11-12 window going forward. And then LaShawn McCoy, I'm going to put him 15. I just think they'll be trailing this game, and he'll get some looks out of the backfield, pass catching. And
I hope
he'll put up his numbers that way. He might even find the end zone for you, too.
I think that was a fluke. It's just they're so down behind.
Right.
But speaking of Jay Ajayi, he did get like 13 touches on that Week 1 game.
Found the end zone twice.
He found the end zone twice, too, which I did not predict. I thought he was my sit for that game. If he gets maybe 16 touches, then I think it warrants a nice consideration of an everyday starter. But obviously, I want to see what happens first. It can easily be one of those games where Nick Foles throws the ball 30 times and Jay Ajayi gets nothing, I don't know. We'll see. Follow up my 16 through 20. So I got Kenyon Drake, Peyton Barber, LaShawn McCoy is actually at 18. As Scott said, I do think with Josh Allen, they're going to use LaShawn McCoy a little bit more. I do think there's a lot of maybe flat routes, maybe some screens to him. I do think that game was a fluke. It was wet conditions. They wanted to protect the franchise essentially with LaShawn McCoy. They realized they're going to take the L, save LaShawn McCoy's legs for next week. I do think he gets 15 touches, maybe 20 touches. I think he gets maybe 4 or 5 catches. Adrian Peterson, look, he blew us everyone away. No one thought Adrian Peterson was going to do that. He caught the ball. One catch was like 60 yards. We never saw that from Adrian Peterson. I like him a lot this week. I do think him and Chris Thompson do have really good. Thompson's actually my 22. I do think they both have really good fantasy days. Followed by Leonard Fournette. Don't know what status Leonard Fournette is. Obviously, if he's out, I'll put T.J. Yeldon in there, replace with him. I just don't know what the status is right now for Leonard Fournette.
All right, so my 16 through 20, 16, Kenyon Drake. I just think, pass catching workload will be there. Frank Gore did look good in spells, and it'll ultimately limit Kenyon Drake's upside. But Kenyon Drake, 16. 17, I'm going to go Carlos Hyde. I like him this week against New Orleans. I do think they'll be able to have a little bit of success running the ball there, enough to give Carlos Hyde a good fantasy day here, and he'll find the end zone once. I got Deion Lewis at 18. Like you said, I think he has a higher floor than Derrick Henry on a week-to-week basis, while also carrying a higher ceiling. So really, he should be ranked ahead of Derrick Henry here in all formats, or in PPR formats.
I think all formats is fair, too.
At 19, I'm going to go Adrian Peterson, and then Chris Thompson at 20, back-to-back Redskins backfield here. Adrian Peterson seems to be one and two down workhorse back. He'll get 1 or 2 pass catches for you. But really, I liked what I saw out of Chris Thompson. He didn't have to get a whole bunch of touches, a whole bunch of carries to really do his damage in the game.
He had 10 touches.
Right, and that's what he's going to live on. So he'll have 6-7 catches for you, and he'll break one for a long run, a long game there. And then it's just a matter of, can you find the end zone or not? If not, your floor is 14, 15 points. Your ceiling's 25, 30 points.
Mm-hmm. So my top 20 will be Carlos Hyde against Cleveland. Obviously, Carlos Hyde, it just depends how that game works. That game's a little bit closer. He can have a lot more production. If not, then Duke Johnson could be that guy. So I have Duke Johnson, kind of like Carlos Hyde, kind of right in that area. Chris Thompson, everything Scott said. Like Chris Thompson a lot, he did a lot of damage with minimal touches, and that's what you want to see for especially the guy that's very cheap and daily. He's very sleeper that a lot of people don't really look at. Royce Freeman, he's one of my breakout candidates this week. Scott's a little bit down on him, but I can understand why. Philip Lindsay is there, but I do think Royce Freeman has the game. Isaiah Correll, 24 against New York Jets. I do think he has a pretty good game as well. Then Jamal Williams. I'm low on Jamal Williams. I don't think he's going to do anything against the Vikings. I just don't like the matchup. But for production, I think he has a chance maybe get a 1-2 yard touchdown, maybe salvage the day. That's my top 25.
So at 21, I'm going to go Derrick Henry. He has that capability of just breaking a long run for a touchdown. And I have this unsettling feeling in my stomach that it's probably going to happen now that we're all
talking about him.
Poo-pooing him a little bit. So I kind of do expect Derrick Henry to have a nice long gain run touchdown there. Number 22, I'm going to go T.J. Yeldon. I had Fournette there, and then I had Yeldon at 23. But we'll pull Fournette out and readjust the rankings here. So I'm going to do Yeldon at 22. I like him this week to be the majority of the ball carrier. He'll catch enough passes. We'll see if he can find the end zone here. Somebody's going to score. It's really kind of hard to predict it for the Jaguars in this game, in my opinion. At 24,
Miles Jack.
Yep. At 24 here, or 23, I'm going to go Matt Breida. I really like him this week. He's my favorite back in the backfield there for San Francisco. I do think Alfred Morris will out-touch him, but kind of in the same way we talked about with Adrian Peterson and Chris Thompson. I think Chris Thompson or Matt Breida will do enough like Chris Thompson in the passing game and get enough yardage, and he has that touchdown capability there for the 49ers in a great matchup against Detroit Lions. So Matt Breida at 23. 24, I'm going to go Royce Freeman. I'm a little bit low on Royce Freeman. I didn't like the amount of times he was on the field and, the workload and how they shared it there in the backfield in Denver. So I really liked what I saw from Freeman. I just didn't like the workload itself, how it was being split up in the backfield for Denver. So I'm a little bit low on Royce Freeman. Have him as a sit. He's my number 24. And then at 25, I'm going to go Isaiah Crowell. I like literally everything I saw out of him against the New York Jets. I've been really high on him. I think he's a very talented running back. He just hasn't had the situation there, especially in Cleveland. I think now it's a little bit better for him in New York with the Jets. So at 25, I'm going Isaiah Crowell.
Finish out my top 30. I love this guy a lot. I'm highlighting him, underlining him. James White, I think he's going to have a really good, I think like maybe Super Bowl type game. He had 3 touchdowns. I know that's high, a lot to pretty big projection, but he's going to be the only guy there, I think. I don't think Rex Burkhead is going to play. If he does, he's going to be very limited. Tom Brady likes James White as a pass catcher. I think the cornerbacks are going to hold the receivers tightly. Gronkowski's going to do his thing. But I think James White's going to be that leading second man in charge in terms of receiving. I'm all in on him this week. I think he gets in the end zone possibly twice. But I like James White a lot. I mean, he's very sleeper. Marshawn Lynch, he's always capable to get that one beast mode type run against the Denver Broncos, get that touchdown. Then I'm very low on Derrick Henry. I put him in there because, as Scott said, we do have that unsettled feeling that he could break one. But I also have like Alfred Morris, Matt Breida in there, around that same area. Then Chris Carson, as I said, he's one of my sets this week, but for namesake and volume production, he's up there in my rankings. Then I'm following Bilal Powell. Bilal Powell looked good. He complemented Isaiah Crowell very well in that game. He did catch a good amount of passes. I like Bilal Powell a lot this week as well. That's my top 30.
Yep, round out my top 30 here. I got Jamal Williams at 26. You know, we talked about him earlier. Don't like him in this matchup. Going Peyton Barber 27, just another bad matchup there. Marshawn Lynch 28. I do think he'll have some success running the ball, but I don't think he finds the end zone, and he's not a capable pass catcher. So I'm thinking about 80 yards, just 8 fantasy points for you there. Rex Burkhead and James White 29-30. I don't love the matchup here for New England. They do, like you said, they do find a way they'll find a way to have some success. That could be James Devlin, Pat Devlin, I don't remember his first name. Yeah, the fullback there. It could be Devlin where he gets worked in and gets some catches and looks. But they will have some success with the backfield. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't feel good about it, so I'm sitting them all.
All right. That was our running back predictions. Going to our receivers, 1 through 30 for receivers. I'm kind of interested in what Scott puts down, but I think top 5 is probably roughly the same. So number 1 is going to be Antonio Brown for me, 100%. I think he's going to have one of those Antonio Brown games, like 3 catches, and you have like a 40-plus fantasy point game. I just have this feeling it's going to be very high scoring, and he's Antonio Brown. Michael Thomas is my number 2 wide receiver. Came off 16 catches last week, guys. 16 catches, that's absurd. Obviously, I don't think he's get that much, but I think he gets maybe 9, 10. I love DeAndre Hopkins this week. Going up to get the Titans, he torched them all last year. Him and Deshaun Watson both did. Followed by Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham is my number 5. I think Odell Beckham, he had 11 catches against one of the better cornerbacks. Now you're going against a sorry secondary of the Dallas Cowboys. He's a shoe-in to get a touchdown this week. I love Odell this week.
Yeah, number 1, Antonio Brown. Like you said, I think he's in for a huge week. 40-plus fantasy point game. Multiple touchdowns scored. Massive week for Antonio Brown week 2. Michael Thomas coming off 16 catches last week. Now he gets the Browns. So expect a big game from Michael Thomas. Really, a number 2 receiver has not emerged there in New Orleans. So Michael Thomas is acting like the number 1 and number 2 receiver altogether. Number 3, I'm going to go with Julio. He got 19 targets against the Eagles, and now he gets what I believe is a poor secondary with Carolina. Dak was not able to take advantage of that secondary, but I do think Julio and Matt Ryan will. As we know, Julio did go for 300 yards against this defense when I believe it was better last year. Number 4, I'm going to go DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins is every week top 5 wide receiver.
8 catches for 80 yards.
Yeah, he's almost matchup proof just with the way he plays. So I'm expecting a nice big game from him here. Then I'm going to go Tyreek Hill at 5 just because of that upside that we saw from last week. And if they don't know how to stop him, and if you run in return leagues too, you can get all those return points on top of that. Tyreek Hill, he's in for just a massive season this year. As long as he stays healthy.
I hope he doesn't.
He is a slight...
Not this week. Not this week.
A slight built feller.
All right, so going into my 6th, though, Keenan Allen, the PPR specialist, PPR stud. Last year against Buffalo, he torched him for like 10 catches, 150 yards and a touchdown. I think he might actually have 2 touchdowns, but don't quote me on that one. Keenan Allen actually is going to be a beast this week. PPR stud. Philip Rivers loves him. He targets him a lot. I'm about to sneeze. Stephon Diggs is my number 7. Davante Adams, he's banged up. He is going to start. I just got the alert. He's going to start. Rodgers is going to start too. So he's always that touchdown candidate. He's going to be the only number 1 receiver on there. Tyreek Hill's my number 9. As Scott said, him and Pat Mahomes had a thing, and he has that ability to take a slant route to the house. He's so fast.
And Pat Mahomes has the ability to throw 70 yards in the air down the field.
Yeah, so he's that strong arm. And followed by my time is Mike Evans. I was wrong about Mike Evans last week. He has bad matchups in the past against the Saints. He completely torched them, so he's going up against a really good matchup this week. Love Mike Evans as my top 10.
Yep. So I got Odell number 6. Like you said, I think he's a shoe-in for a touchdown. Might be one of the easiest, or second easiest behind Antonio Brown, touchdown calls this week. Yeah. Number 7, I got Keenan Allen. He's in for a big game this week playing against Buffalo. And then number 8, we're going to go Jarvis Landry. He gets the matchup against New Orleans. I think he's going to get, like you said, 17 targets. I don't think that's far-fetched. Definitely can see that there. Number 9, got Stephon Diggs here. And then at 10, I'm going to go actually Juju Smith. A little bit contrarian on the 10th one, but I just expect this game just be massively outside.
I'm not like the big difference in mine. Juju's actually 13 for me, but I can see both AB and Juju having great fantasy games. So Taylor, that's good for you. Gets good news for you. So number 11 is T.Y. Hilton. Look, T.Y. Hilton got a touchdown last week. Looks like him and Andrew Luck are finally going back to Andrew Luck things. T.Y. is going to do the T.Y. dance in the end zone today. I like him a lot. Adam Thielen gets Minnesota. Look, Adam Thielen plays good against the Green Bay Packers. He always does. Kirk Cousins looks for him this way. I think him and Stephon Diggs both have good games. I do think if Rodgers is playing, which he is, I do think this game has a tendency to be 20-plus points each side. So maybe Kirk Cousins has to throw the ball a little bit more to try to maybe catch up with Aaron Rodgers. Juju's number 13. Jarvis Landry. Dude, I think Jarvis Landry's going to be my major boom this week. I think he's going to explode. I wouldn't be surprised to get a touchdown, maybe even 2. He's going to get a lot of targets, a lot of catches. And then followed by Emmanuel Sanders. What else can I say about him? He's proven to be the number 1 wide receiver on that team. People often overlook him. He's undervalued in DraftKings. He should be a lot more, but he's not. Start him in daily. Start him in every league. Emmanuel Sanders, all systems go.
Yep, I got Davante Adams 11, Mike Evans 12. Both of them studs every week. Typically, you'll see them in the top 10, a little bit low because of the matchups this week. Emmanuel Sanders 13. Everything you said about Emmanuel Sanders, I love him. Love the matchup. Love the team. Love the situation and targets. Number 14, going Adam Thielen. He looked nice. I was poo-pooing him all offseason, but he looked nice in week 1 there as kind of more of the kind of possession guy, with Diggs being the more of the field stretcher guy, but looked good. T.Y. Hilton 15. Him and Andrew Luck, they have that rapport. It's going to be there again. I think he'll even have a bigger game this week, a better game this week than he had previously against the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right. So number 16, I got back-to-back same team, Marvin Jones, Golden Tate. I do like Marvin Jones. For some reason, I think Kellen Galladay is going to overtake Marvin Jones. But for right now, I'm having Marvin Jones at 16. I could interchange Kenny Galladay roughly around the same area as Marvin Jones. Golden Tate seems to be the guy that Matthew Stafford looks for. We got like 6-7 catches last week. Did get that touchdown. So Golden Tate's the guy. Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know what happened to Larry Fitzgerald. He wasn't really targeted that much because I think Sam Bradford was playing horrible. But
they just didn't have the ball.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Larry Fitzgerald's going to have a bounce-back game this week. Brandon Cooks. I know Scott's high on him, but look, he didn't really do too well against Brandon Cooks, against the Raiders. But
5 for 85. He had a nice game.
Yeah, well, you need that touchdown to really kind of like go off. But I think he gets that touchdown today. And Cooper Kupp, look, Cooper Kupp's Jared Goff's guy. He looked really good against the Raiders. I followed up my top 20.
All right, so 16, I'm going to go Demaryius Thomas. He really proved to me he's going to be the possession guy in this offense. He's going to be 6 to 8 catches almost every week. Then you add the yardage. And he had a really nice toe-tap touchdown in the corner of the end zone there. Number 17, I'm going to Devin Funchess. I love him this week. Love him, with Greg Olsen being out. I think he should be an every week play for your fantasy team here going forward as long as Greg Olsen is out. Number 18, Brandon Cooks. He has immense upside on a week-to-week basis. He has that 30-point capability every week. Doesn't matter the matchup. Number 19, I'm going Larry Fitzgerald. Like you said, he didn't get used quite a bit, but they also didn't have the ball very much. So I do think Larry Fitzgerald, they'll have the ball more this week, and he'll have more, they'll be in a little bit of a catch-up mode here. And so I do think he'll have more opportunities to score. And then 20, I'm going to go Golden Tate here. I actually had Marvin Jones at 21, so I did the same thing as you, put him back-to-back. But I prefer Golden Tate this week. I think he'll be more of the reliable PPR-type receiver, and Marvin Jones is going to rely on the big, deep catch, which it seems like Kenny Galladay has taken some of that away from him.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kenny Galladay a lot. So follow up my 21, I got Demaryius Thomas. Yes, that's everything Scott said. I'm not going to really add much to it. He did get that touchdown. He got a lot of production. I liked him. Kind of added in functions because I totally forgot about him. But I like him a lot in daily. I think he's going to have a really good game. So I got Allen Robinson, number 22. I do think he's in more into the season. Him and Mitchell Trubisky is going to have production.
Yeah, it'll
really
get better as it goes.
Because he just come ACL. He didn't really play as much in preseason. Didn't really practice as much. So he's still getting back into game shape. Kenny Stills. Look, Kenny Stills is the guy in Miami. He's going to be the target guy. He's going to be when Antonio Brown, not Antonio Brown, but what Jarvis Landry was. That's Nelson Aguilar. He had 8 catches for 33 yards. He was that target guy. It was a weird stat line, but
8 catches, 33 yards.
Nelson Aguilar looks like he's going to be the guy. And Amari Cooper, I'm really low on him. He's my sit this week, but for the fact that John Gruden wants Amari Cooper to be the guy, I think he has a chance to maybe get a touchdown.
Yeah, at 21, like I said, I had Marvin Jones there, so we're just down on the Lions here, but there will be some catch-up opportunities, I believe. At 22, I'm going Corey Davis. I got him as a start this week. With Delaney Walker out, he had plenty of targets, plenty of looks in week 1, and I expect that to just go up by a few more this week as well. Maybe he can find the end zone for you. At 23, I'm going Nelson Aguilar by pure volume only in PPR. The yardage wasn't there. Maybe he can find the end zone, but maybe they can work on that yardage where he can break a tackle and make a move there. At 24, I'm going Cooper Kupp. Him and Jared Goff, they have that thing, that white, blue-eyed, blonde hair thing connection going on where he's not as good as the other receivers on his team, but that's Jared Goff's boy, and you take care of your boys. So Cooper Kupp, number 24, and then 25, Randall Cobb. I know you're low on him this week. After what we saw last week, I thought 25 was pretty low, but you probably got him lower than me, it appears. And I don't know. I just think
I have him 32.
I think the Packers are going to have to throw if they're going to find success here, and somebody's got to get it. And I think it's a more Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams than it would be the running backs or Jimmy Graham.
I have him 32. That's how low I am on him. I don't think he's having a good game. He never has a good game against the Vikings. So I got Robbie Anderson and Quincy Newar back to back. They both had great games. Him and Sam. They say Sam they're both same round looks for both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them gets a touchdown this week. Pierre Garçon, look. I'm starting Pierre Garçon because I really have no choice, but I do think Pierre Garçon and George Kittle will be a lot of targets. The throw was a little bit late, but he should have still caught it. It would have been a touchdown. But I do think Pierre Garçon gets 6 catches, 80 yards in that touchdown range. I do like him a lot. Corey Davis, really, for volume alone, he's on my rankings because, look, they got to throw to someone. Delaney Walker's out. Corey Davis, Dion Lewis type thing. And I got Kenny Galladay. I like him a lot. He looks really good. It's really low on me. He can easily be top 15 if he performs the right. And I added Will Fuller and Randall Cobb. It was like 31, 32, just to added fill in.
Right. 26, I got Sammy Watkins. I'm expecting a big game from him this week. I think the coverage will roll over to Tyreek Hill a little bit to some extent, and Sammy Watkins is going to get more looks, and he'll make his $16 million, and he'll make Andy Reid look smart on that contract this week. Or dumb, but I think it'll work out for him. 27, I got Kenny Stills. He's the wide receiver 1 there in Miami. He looked great week 1, 2 touchdowns. I'm expecting him to hold on to that number 1 role even as Devontae Parker comes back from injury. 28, I'm going Allen Robinson. I didn't love the usage they had for him in Chicago. I do think missing most of the preseason kind of hurt the rapport he could build with Mitch Trubisky. So I do think it'll get better for him as the season progresses. 29, Amari Cooper. I know that they want to get him more involved and they want to give him more looks and everything. But for Amari Cooper, this is a bad matchup, I believe, in Denver. So he's really going to be touchdown dependent whether or not he can salvage his day. I'm guessing not, so I got him as a sit at 29. And then 30, I got Tyler Lockett. He's taking over the number 1 wide receiver role there for Doug Baldwin while he's out in Seattle. So I think Tyler Lockett will get enough looks, and he's a big play threat every week to, he could take an 80-yard touchdown, just by speed. Plus, if you get return points and any type yardage accrued, Tyler Lockett also is a returner there, so he could, add additional points for you, keep that floor high. And then at 31, just throw another name out. I do have Quincy Enunwa and Chris Hogan 32. So, Josh, that was a good question you had for Enunwa and Hogan. I had them back-to-back. I do prefer Enunwa this week. I like a lot of what I saw against Detroit last week. I like the connection he had with Sam Darnold. And I really liked Enunwa going back to last year before he hurt his neck. I really thought he was, coming on and was a breakout candidate for the 2017 season before his injury.
All right. Let's quickly go over the tight ends and defense really quick. So top 5 is probably interchangeable. Actually, no. I know he has George Kittle in 3. I have him at 5. So I got Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Jordan Reed. Rule 86, guys. Jordan Reed looked really good, and he was lowering his shoulder, breaking tackles. He wasn't protecting anything. He looks like he's ready to go. He got a touchdown last week. I think he gets a touchdown this week. I'm going to do my top 10. Got Kittle at 5, Jimmy Graham 6, Trey Burton 7, Evan Ingram 8, Jack Doyle 9, and Kyle Rudolph at 10. I think Kyle Rudolph will get a little bit more targets, a little bit more catches, and I think he gets a touchdown too as well.
Right. So our top 5 were the same, just different order. I had Gronk, Kelce, Kittle, Ertz, and then Reed at 5. Going in 6 through 10, I actually had Trey Burton at 6. He had 6 targets in the first week. He only caught 1. He was wide open in the back of the end zone. Literally, there's a screenshot of it with Mitch Trubisky has the ball. The line is separated like this, where it's just a wide funnel that a semi-truck could drive through. And Trey Burton's in the end zone going like this. No joke. And he's looking to the right.
Damn.
Yep. So I think they'll get that corrected. I do think Burton's in for plenty of targets in this game, and they'll find the end zone for him. I got Evan Ingram at 7, Jared Cook 8. I got him as a start this week going against Denver. We have a hard time, Denver Bronco fan, we have a hard time stopping the tight end there. Will Dissly, we made him look like an all-pro. Number 9, I got Jimmy Graham, and 10, Jack Doyle.
All right, so rounding out my top 20. Got Tyler Eifert. Oh, he already played. I gotta change that out. My bad. Jared Cook, Benjamin Watson, David Njoku, ASJ, O.J. Howard, Ricky Seals-Jones, Jonnu Smith, 19, Eric Ebron, Jesse James at 20. And for that, go ahead. I think of another person to fill in for number 20.
Okay, so number 11, I got Kyle Rudolph. It's just a matter for me. It seems like he's going to be touchdown dependent this year, but we'll see if Kirk Cousins looks his way more in week 2 than he did in week 1. Number 12, going Eric Ebron. I do got him on the start this week. I do think he's a nice play, good for 5 catches every week, and I do think he'll find the end zone in week 2. David Njoku, 13. Great matchup here against New Orleans. I do think volume will be there for him. 14, Ben Watson. Drew Brees is quarterback, enough said.
Yep.
15, ASJ. 16, O.J. Howard. 17, Ricky Seals-Jones. 18, I got Jonnu Smith. 19, I got Austin Hooper. And then 20, I did a Vance McDonald / Jesse James.
That's what I have too. I just added that in.
Unaware, if Vance McDonald is back and healthy, I really like what I saw from him in the postseason last year. But maybe there's some acclimation that's going to take place where Jesse James will hold over for a week or two.
Let's go into the defense really quick. Obviously, to me, Los Angeles 1 and 2. I got Rams 1, Chargers 2. Okay.
I got Chargers 1, Rams 2.
All right. Denver Broncos 3, Eagles 4, Carolina Panthers 5, Saints, Jags, Jets, Bears at 9, New England Patriots at 10. New England Patriots, I think, is a good streaming choice. They're always bend don't break type defense, and the offense of the Jacksonville Jaguars isn't as good, especially with Fournette out of the game. I'm going to just do quickly my top 20 before we go into the next segment. We got Minnesota Vikings 11, Giants 12, Packers, Titans, Redskins, Falcons, Seahawks, Lions, Niners, and then Miami Dolphins, rounding up my top 20.
Okay, so I got Chargers 1, Rams 2, Bears 3, Eagles 4, Broncos are 5. Taking Washington 6, New Orleans 7, Houston at 8, Tennessee 9, New York Jets at 10. Going into 11 through 20, get the Giants 11, Seattle 12, San Francisco 13, Dallas 14, Atlanta 15, Carolina 16, 17 Miami, 18 New England, and then Minnesota Jacksonville rounding out my 19-20.
All right.
They're just bad matchups for those defenses.
That's our Week 2 rankings, guys. Next week we'll adjust accordingly for Week 3. But let's go into the next segment. First, I want to talk about really quickly the big news. Obviously, Josh Gordon's out. Josh Gordon is not playing, and he's probably going to get released Monday. But a lot of people saying he's going to get traded. 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys are the teams that Josh Gordon wants to go. That telling me right there that it's not drug-related. But, Scott, I kind of want to open up to you, see what your thoughts on the Josh Gordon situation. Originally, when you first told me, I immediately thought relapse. I thought, okay, he broke. But telling me more reading about it, thinking about, okay, look, the NFL would have released something already by now if he did fail a drug test, and multiple teams are calling about him, which leads me to believe that they just tired of him becoming late. Apparently he was late for practice because of a photo shoot. That's when he injured his hamstring. So what are your thoughts on the Josh Gordon situation?
Well as being late to practice, the reports are coming out that he seemed different and off. And for them, that was a red flag, given his history with the whole drug and relapse type situation there. And that was enough for them to say, you know what, we like what we see with the receivers here. Let's just let him go, move on, get him out of here. And I do think that's a good decision by the Browns. I do think it's a culture change for the organization there. Josh Gordon clearly has problems. While it's not an official drug-related issue, I do believe it is probably likely a drug-related issue or suspicion on the Browns' behalf, which is why they're wanting and willing to move on at this point. And we all saw Hard Knocks. They were giddy about Josh Gordon, him coming back, and they were it was ridiculous for me to see a coach talk about a player like that who has a poor history of being on the field and is missing time.
Yes. Obviously, I thought it was drug related, but if other teams are calling about him, I don't think it's drug related. I just think it's
just not official.
It's just not official. But no, if the Cowboys are calling, Jerry Jones is smart enough. He has connections in there. See if it's anything related to a drug relation.
Well, they took a last pick of the 7th round for Corey Coleman. I'd give that up for Josh Gordon, even if he's suspended for the whole year.
One thing I do want to point out is that. Obviously, if he gets traded, obviously you want to hold on to him and see what happens, honestly. But I lost my train of thought. Okay, well, anyways, more to come about that. Just keep that posted. I do think it's not drug related. I do think Josh Gordon will get traded. If he does get traded, what teams do you think he'd be best suited for, Scott?
You mentioned San Francisco. I really like that fit. So that, to me, number one, I'd love to see him go there. And then just likelihood of places he could go. I could see Jerry Jones, making that type of move. He did go to school in Baylor, so he's familiar with the area. I'm sure he probably.
And they absolutely need some wide receiver, but that's something to keep in mind, guys. Obviously, we don't know until they break. But I totally forgot we didn't even do what the this week. That could be my what the was. The Browns. Major assumption, okay? You didn't do a drug test. You have no proof. So if it wasn't a drug test and he just eventually goes off, it could be a what the right there.
When a player is giving you a headache since 2012,
that's true.
He's been miserable to be, to have in the facility. Gotcha. And he's not even there. And you can't rely on him. How many chances are you going to give this guy? They've already given him way more chances than I would have given him. It's about time you moved on, Cleveland Browns.
I mean, I understand, but anyways,
what the Josh Gordon?
What the Josh Gordon? What the Hugh Jackson? You're trash. Okay. Let's go into our new segment we've been doing. It's the Fantasy Leprechauns Pot of Gold Glory Pick of the Week. He's 1 for 1. He was right on Bruce Ellington. He get that touchdown. He had a pretty good fantasy day.
He had plenty of targets. I wish he'd had more catches because he was getting targets there.
I am going to hand it off to Scott with his Fantasy Leprechauns Pot of Gold.
You feel like making a prediction?
Of the week. Prediction? Do I want to make a prediction? Well, honestly, just based on matchup, I think James White. I've been talking about him all this week. I think James White is the guy that's going to have a tremendous fantasy pick. But if you're talking for a guy that's off of waivers, probably Rashad Higgins, All
right. Rashad Higgins was a consideration for me. However, I picked this guy prior to the Josh Gordon's news. But Rashad Higgins absolutely was probably my number 2 choice. And this was before the news of Josh Gordon. Now that Josh Gordon's up, I think Rashad Higgins is probably the biggest beneficiary, other than Jarvis Landry, from the Josh Gordon's news here. Until, of course, he probably signed Des Bryant on Monday. But anyways, Fantasy Leprechauns, Pot of Gold, Glory Pick of the Week. I'm going to go with Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis, wide receiver, out of Washington, plays for San Francisco 49ers. Last week, he caught 2 passes, 61 yards for a touchdown. He's owned in only 14% of Yahoo leagues. This week, going against Detroit Lions, Marquise Goodwin's out. Kyle Shanahan's already came out and said we're going to get plenty of looks, going to get plenty of work for Dante Pettis. I'm expecting Pettis to go for 5 for 110 and a touchdown.
I like Dante Pettis a lot too. I think I said before. I think Gersong, Kittle, Pettis all have chances to really do amazing things. It's just who gets that touchdown. He's owing in on Pettis. I think Gersong and Kittle are going to get the touchdown. I like it a lot. So let's see. He's one for one. We'll see if he's going to be 2 for 2 at the end of this week. But before we go into our pick'ems, before we close out the show, let's do a recap of the prop bets that me and Scott have for Jersey. So prop bet 1 was Josh Gordon versus Sammy Watkins. Josh Gordon is currently leading with 9.7 points. Watkins is 5.10. We do have a void if anyone misses for a game. It's 5 games, so it just 4 is the max. That bet's null and void. So far, Josh Gordon's leading. So McCoy right now versus Mixon, 3.2 points for McCoy, with Mixon getting 36.6. Mixon did play extra game, but obviously it's not looking good for me. But Mixon is out 3 to 4 weeks, so if it's out 5 weeks, that gets null and void too. And then to talk about
But could it be at my discretion? Because maybe if he misses 5 weeks, I might still take Mixon missing 5 weeks over LaShawn McCoy.
Why not? I'll let you have it, okay? And talk about the pick'em. So I'm 10-5-1. Scott's 8-7-1 leading into there. He picked the Ravens. I picked the Bengals. So I'm 11-5-1, and he's 8-8-1.
Yep.
So leading up in the pick'ems, guys, before we close out the show with any fantasy lineup decisions. So obviously Houston's versus Tennessee Titans. So I am favored with Houston. I do think Houston wins this game because I'm very concerned about the quarterback situation in Tennessee. I don't know what's going on. Scott, who do you have?
Houston against Titans. You pick 2.
Houston.
I'm entering it into this, and that's why.
Okay.
I'm also going with Houston in this game. I just have more faith in Deshaun Watson's ability to play as opposed to Marcus Mariota, especially with them talking about Blaine Gabbert. Even though this game is in Tennessee, I'm with you. Houston Texans win this game.
KC Pitt, highest over-under this week is over 51 points. Scott's going over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I do think Pittsburgh plays a lot better at home, and therefore they're going to be my choice who wins this day. I think Pittsburgh wins today.
Yep, absolutely. Agree to sentiment. Steelers at home, they're going to win this game. I think Pat Mahomes will reel it back in a little bit. Still be a productive offense, but he'll turn the ball over and not look as efficient as he did against San Diego or LA Chargers.
Defending Super Bowl champions Philadelphia Eagles play at away versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think he's going to go back down to reality a little bit. I do think Philadelphia Eagles wins. I think Nick Foles has a really good game. I have Philadelphia winning that game.
I, however, think Nick Foles cost them the game, and Ryan Fitzpatrick does
All right, we differ that one.
Not what he does in New Orleans, but does enough to pull this game out. And I do think Tampa Bay wins this game at home.
All right, so we got LA Chargers versus the Buffalo Bills. I'm pretty confident me and Scott picked the same team. LA Chargers is going to be the winner of that game. Let's go into Carolina versus ATL. So Carolina's going to ATL. I do think I'm not confident in the offense of ATL. I do think Carolina is the team. I do think Carolina wins that game.
And I think Atlanta wins the game. They're playing at home. I believe they're a top 5 team in the NFL. They do have injuries on the defensive side of the ball that are going to hurt them. But I do think they'll prevail and win this game at home against Carolina.
Got Indianapolis Colts at Washington Redskins. Alex Smith looks really good. That offense looks really good. I have Washington winning that game.
And I will be taking Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts to pull that game out. They'll win the game 17-14.
Either I'm going to be in a really big lead or Scott's going to catch up. This is how this is going. So Cleveland versus New Orleans Saints. This could be an upset, but I don't think that's going to happen. I do think New Orleans wins this game quite easily, actually.
Yeah, we said this last week, and we're going to say it again. New Orleans runs away with this one.
Yes. Minnesota Vikings play against Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is a little bit banged up. I do think Minnesota will win this game. I do think it'll be somewhat close, maybe 1 touchdown, but I have Minnesota winning.
I agree. I'll pick Minnesota here to win this game.
They usually split. I think the fact that Rodgers being injured is going to be the deciding factor.
Well, I mean, this is what they paid Kirk Cousins for. They have clearly a better roster, and now they have a little bit better of a quarterback situation there. So
New York Jets play against the division rival Miami Dolphins. I do think Sam Darnold actually pulls off with that defense looking. I do think they beat Miami Dolphins. I think Sam Darnold's going to start 2-0.
Yep, and I think the Jets will reel it back in a little bit, and the Dolphins do just enough win the game 17-16.
That's another one we differ. Detroit versus San Francisco. There's probably another one to differ. I do think Detroit rebounds, and I think they beat that game. I know they don't play well on the West Coast, but I think Matthew Stafford's going to have one of the 4 touchdown performances that he's known for, so I think Detroit wins.
Niners by 10.
Niners by 10. All right. Arizona Cardinals versus Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, LA Rams easily going to dominate this game, I think. I think it'll be 20-plus blowout.
Yep, completely agree.
Oakland versus Denver. I think Denver does win this game. I'm not confident Oakland's offense. Their defense isn't that very good. I think Case Keenum's got a pretty good game. Denver wins this game.
Denver homer.
All right, New England Patriots versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville's actually favored by 1 or 2 points. First time in Tom Brady's, long time. Tom Brady's actually been down in terms of the projections. But I do think New England wins this game. I think Jacksonville's going to come with a lot of emotion. I think they're going to make mistakes that the Patriots won't. I think Patriots win this game.
This is literally as big as the Super Bowl around here in Jacksonville and for this Jaguars team. Jaguars win this game by a field goal.
By a field goal. All right. Sunday Night Football, New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not confident in the Dallas Cowboys offense. I do think New York Giants have a better team around them. I do think New York Giants win this game.
I also think Giants win the game.
Monday Night Football, Seattle Seahawks versus Chicago Bears. I do think Chicago Bears win this game. I think Khalil Mack's going to have another great game and decide this game for you.
Seattle wins.
Seattle wins. All right. So that's our pick'ems, guys. Obviously, anything you want to say before we do our final send-off to the viewers?
Nope. Let's get ready for week 2.
Week 2. I need a win. I absolutely need a win. Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Hit that like button. Subscribe to us on a YouTube channel. Follow us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, all the other medias that you choose. We really appreciate it. Please press that share button as well. Check out the Big Cat Countries My Start Sit rankings with Brian Fulford. He's posting it Sunday mornings around 9, 10 o'clock. It should be up there right now. Other than that, hope you guys have a good lineup.
There you go. There you go.
I'm
bringing your own
it.
paper now.
I'm bringing my own paper. You guys have a good day. She hit it this time.